Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to a very special show on the Comic Art Live channel. We're doing a tribute to Mr. Neal Adams and an art sale as well. But before we get started, before I bring my guests on, the one thing I wanted to tell everybody, just, when I think about Neal, and I especially think about the last couple years, when we entered the pandemic, who was there for all of us? Neal and his family were putting on shows that really, gave us something to do. I mean, and really enlightened a lot of people and how they could promote marketing and just, provide entertainment in a time when people were really looking for something to do and something that kind of ties back to the hobby that we all loved. And Neal and his family did that, and they did it in spades. And it was an amazing thing to watch them. I mean, I don't think that we would be as far along on this channel, or I might not have even tried to do it if I hadn't watched Neal do a lot of the shows that he was doing early on. And today, now that we're able to go back to cons, I think the thing that I'm missing the most is the fact that Neal can't be with us now. When we're able to get back together in person and enjoy the hobby as we were so used to. The guy that really brought us together at the beginning of all that isn't there to be with us today, but his memory certainly is, and his contributions to this hobby will be forever with us, and of course forever with his family. And so, with that being said, I'd like to bring on my guests this evening. Hello, Kris and Zia. Welcome to the show.
Sorry, I'm pulling you up on my iPad so we can read the commentary as they come in.
That's right. I'm not on a big screen TV.
If you watch
there,
our shows, we're never ready. We just go with the flow.
I have seen a few of the shows. Yes, I have. But that's that was what was like I was talking about there. Early on, that was you were kind of showing us how to do things, and you weren't afraid to. There didn't need to be polished. It just you guys really put on good shows, and Neal always had a great story for us. Mm-hmm. So you didn't have to have like a great intro, or anything. You just kind of started the show, and Neal did his thing, and everybody was enthralled, and that was what made made for fun entertainment. And at the same time, I mean, it goes just, that's Neal's persona, right? I mean, he was always an innovator, especially in marketing. He was always ahead of the curve. He did his own virtual cons and those sorts of things even before that. So it's he was just a remarkable guy. I mean, he never was at a loss for a creative way to make a pitch and to keep his presence out there in the hobby. And I just super respect him for all of that.
Yeah, well, we were very lucky in that Neal always liked having lots of toys. So we jumped into computers very quickly. We got into editing and animation very quickly. And he was always pushing the envelopes. Mm-hmm. Zia pushed along with Neal on some of those envelopes.
Neal pushed me along those lines too.
So basically, it was a very easy turn for us to actually go live on a show and do it. It was a person at a convention who was selling prints during the convention. And he asked my dad, hey, can we sell your prints on the show? And would you come on our show? And that's actually what he came back and he was like, oh, right, guys. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a show, and we were like, what? And then next thing we were doing it. But actually, he learned it from a guy at a show. I don't remember the guy's name, but there was someone ahead of us doing it.
Yes.
And well, you got to take your inspiration from somewhere.
Exactly.
Yes, and then we were set to task to figure out how they did it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then we had to experiment. So our first couple of videos were really just me and Kris going, okay, we're here to try to figure out how we're doing this. So here's some stuff. Let us know if you can see anything. Yeah.
Right, because all we heard was it was on a phone.
Right.
And figure it out, guys. It was, we could see it on the phone. It was done with a phone. Mm-hmm. Somehow he was doing a show with a phone.
Right from the show.
Right. So that's how we figured it out.
Well, and it's become a standard now for a lot of a lot of salespeople. I mean, just because the pandemic kind of really forced a lot of people into doing that. But
Yeah, and the
But-
nice thing for us is we actually, because Neal was, I think it was tiring a bit about doing shows, and
Well,
it
he was
was
going every weekend was somewhere else.
right, and
all
it
over
was
the
also the
country.
fall. So fall is usually when shows start tapering down anyway. And so he was like, I really would love to be able to stay home this weekend. And that was another reason. So we were kind of ahead of COVID. We started, I think, in the fall, right before COVID. So we had probably like a 4-month jump on most people.
Yeah, I recently got my Facebook memory saying, "Yeah, remember when you did this?" And it was our first videos.
Yeah.
So
well, that's so cool.
He always, whether, you look at covers Neal has done in the past, like the famous Ra's al Ghul cover that had the craft tinty engraving backgrounds. I mean, he loved pushing everything. When we did Continuity Comics and we put out Death Watch, he wanted every cover to have a different gimmick. And, it's to come up with, and he didn't do just like, a lot of companies will be like, okay, we're going to put red foil on this cover and we'll cover the logo. Neal always wanted to integrate, like if we're going to do something, there's going to be a reason why we're doing something.
it was part of the art and
it
not
was
just to have it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And the benefit of also having an artist like Neal is that he knew how to make that all work together. So you weren't just doing a gimmick to do a gimmick. It was doing a gimmick that enhanced the artwork of the cover in a weird way, or it helped tell the story. Or, when we did die cutting, it was like lace work on our die cut cover that actually Michael Golden did the artwork for that cover. But Neal loved playing with science. He, 3D glasses,
The magic eye thing.
The magic eye thing.
Yep.
We loved all that stuff. That's what made him the happiest. So gizmos, gadgets, toys, computers, editing programs, that's all right up Neal's alley. We did 3D work with Neal.
We did morphing.
Right, where Neal, sat there and we put dots all over Neal's face, and he basically did
motion capture
and did the beginning of, in a way, of Batman Odyssey, where he is under Bruce Wayne in the Batcave. And it's Neal's voice talking to you. And it was the day that I realized my dad only talks through one side of his mouth. So, because and to the point where I had studied his mouth so well that I forget where we were, and somebody challenged me that wasn't Dad. And it was like, it is, because he only talks through one side of his mouth. That's Dad's mouth, because I had 3D'd it enough times to know what his mouth looked like. Personally into that mouth.
So the thing is, his creativity did not stop with the paper and the ink. He really was always pushing the envelope.
Morphing planets, morphing figures. So he only had to do one drawing instead of 8 for a running figure. All sorts of crazy stuff.
Right.
Well,
and he's real big in taking the gang with him. It's like, you guys are going to come with me, and we're going to go on this new adventure. We're going to morph planets, and we're going to take every moon and morph it and prove that it does go from something small to something big, that it grows. And that when you shrink all the, what was it, Ganymede?
Ganymede, yep.
Right. When you shrink Ganymede
and Mars,
all the lines come together.
And Earth.
And right.
I actually have Dad's globe over there, which was one of his early.
Right.
He actually printed out, cut up the continents, and then glued them to a globe. And then it became my job, since I was the computer whiz of the family, to figure out how to do this in animation.
Right. So this is Neal taking a larger map, fitting it to a smaller ball. And we have many sized globes. Actually, he used to greet us at Christmas with a basketball with tracing papers of continents. And where you would think like, oh, we're gonna have a good Christmas, we're gonna have a science Christmas, yay! But this is
Just when you wanted a normal Christmas for once, it was another science Christmas.
right. It was another science Christmas. So
that was that.
right, and that is Neal cutting continents and fitting it together onto that ball. I mean that is a Neal project right there.
And then it was about 15 years of animation in After Effects and Photoshop and
Right,
morphing and
which you can see
stuff.
all of that on Dad's YouTube.
it's
Like
on
he's
his-
got his science, all the science videos are up on Neal Adams YouTube.
Yep.
So
I don't think I've ever checked out Neal Adams' YouTube. I'll
well,
have to.
there you go.
So you learn something new every day.
He has Patreons. He's got YouTubes. Once again, he's everywhere. He likes
that's
to
awesome.
play in every arena. So that is Dad.
So did the both of you spend any time at Continuity Studios early on? I mean, was he bringing you guys into the
All of
office?
us did. That's where we grew up.
Yeah.
Like all the time.
Right. I think
My
like,
first job was getting him coffee, and it must have been 8.
Did he pay well
Well, you know,
or tip well? Maybe.
as long as you don't spill it, yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, I think I started really working in continuity. I think continuity was open maybe 4 years before I walked in the door. But I did put the first paint coat down. He started in the back of a floor that was actually an animation studio. And as they were moving out, which they were moving out slowly into a bigger location, Neal was taking over the space. So I put down the first coat of paint on what was the front room where all the artists were and the middle room. But I ended up working for continuity 4 years into continuity, so, and have been here ever since.
Wow.
So,
And
he
you
did pay well. I will say Dad pays well.
Oh yeah.
I'll second that he pays
Well,
well.
it's like when you're 8 years old, you get a quarter to go get some gum, you know. So that's
not bad. I used to have to haul, glass bottles to the local grocery store to get my quarter. So, I mean, I know what that was like. So, but what you both helped out at shows as well, too, right? I mean, you were integral parts of setting up at many of the cons that Neal would go to. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a lot of work.
Yeah, well, when we got into, I mean, again, it's different eras of Neal Adams. I would say that I'm more the era of the early Neal Adams, only a comic artist who would go to Phil Seuling shows, and we would make money that weekend, and we would stay there, and we would walk home together as the sun came up. And my goal was to hold all the money in my back pocket. But I know as a kid, I used to walk around with a lot of money in my back pocket at shows. So that
in the Bronx.
right, that was my first. Well, but I was with my dad, so my first job was I collected the money for the Bill Everett Fund. Is like my first memory of like working at a convention. Otherwise, I just was really good and waited for my dad to get done with whatever he was doing. And then we got into, when we got into Continuity Comics, even Continuity Comics, we had a booth and we were getting a little fancier. But then Neal came out very big as an artist later. And that's what he's been doing for, I would say, the last 7 to 8 years, was really doing conventions every weekend and doing those big booths that everybody saw.
and going everywhere. Went
And
to
going
Brazil,
everywhere.
went to Germany, went to so many different places.
Philippines.
Yeah.
So yes, those booths were much bigger. It was a learning curve of how fast can you get prints from here to there, and how many different palettes of convention stuff do we have all over the U.S. and Canada.
A lot.
Right.
I don't even think we've.
So we got into very good shipping at that point. That was a learning curve of shipping in our lives.
Well, that is one of the bigger challenges with shows. I mean, I know he went to Lake Como as well, the
Yep.
inaugural show there.
Right. Yep. Marilyn went with him on that.
Maryland. Yeah, I saw
And she had
plenty
a
of
great,
photos of both of them.
right,
You had a good time?
great time there. So everybody seems to have a great time there. It seems like a very lovely convention. I mean, European conventions are different than American conventions. My understanding is in Europe, you're treated like like a god, and you get to go have dinner while the sun sets, and it's just much more laid back to like a convention as we know it here in the States.
Gotta
So,
hustle
yeah,
at a convention here in the States.
right.
No, I understand. I've set up with dealers before, so I know kind of know the game, and it's a lot of work for sometimes not a lot of reward. But
Yeah, I always question like, well, I mean, we've dealt with prints and some books and comic books, but I could not imagine what it takes to put up a dealer's, like a comic dealer's booth at a convention. It's got to be like all those long boxes, and
Yeah.
there's millions of them. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, we thought our shipping was bad.
Right.
My God.
Right.
yeah, very true. Hey, Samuel Rojas wanted to know if Neal had a favorite place to visit for a show, con-wise. I mean, do you think he had one that he enjoyed going to every year and looked forward to?
I would say anyone where he made big money. Everything about Dad was always about making
What's your
money.
favorite character to draw? The one that pays me the most.
Right.
What's your favorite book to draw? The one that pays me the most.
Right. He was very much a man that worked for money. So I would say his favorite conventions would probably be New York Comic Con and San Diego, because they are the bigger ones where he did come home with the most amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, there's nothing wrong. I know that that Neal, just from everything I read, I mean, he wanted, making money was important. I mean, that's how he took care of his family. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I think most of us are always trying to figure out the best way to make the most money with the least amount of effort, or in some cases, the max amount of effort and the max amount of money. And whatever Neal's approach was, I think that it certainly worked for him. It pushed him, it drove him to want to be the success that he became.
right. Well, I think his goal was, I think his studio gave him autonomy, and his autonomy allowed him to do things like, I'm going to go on strike, or I'm going to like push some people's buttons for like Jerry and Joe Schuster, or I'm going to return artwork, or, a lot of his being able to battle things for the industry came because he did always work, and it was about making money, but that money he put into a studio that, once again, allowed him to push the envelopes of a lot of different playgrounds, whether it was comics, whether it was test commercials, whether it's his science projects. All of that takes money. And people will sometimes, oh, your dad is so slow, or your dad was this, or your dad was that. And I was like, no, my dad
worked a huge volume
like a
of work.
dog. Yeah. What other comic artist or even commercial artist has a 4,000 square foot space in Midtown Manhattan?
Not many.
Most artists work, some of them have places they go to, but they're small. I mean, this is Midtown Manhattan real estate. This is not cheap to have a continuity.
Right.
It takes a lot of money and a lot of work to keep continuity going.
Mm-hmm.
And that allowed him to, and having those different plates that he always was spinning allowed him to do a lot of the stuff that has helped this comic industry in a lot of ways.
Sure. Stevie B had a question. Did Neal and Dick Giordano start continuity as a joint venture, or did Neal bring Dick in after he got that started?
I would say it was a joint venture. Neal and Dick were good friends.
Mm-hmm.
Neal had a lot of respect for Dick on a lot of different levels. On a business level, as an editor, he just loved Dick, and they did open continuity together. I would say it's probably Neal. I don't know 100% what the story is, so I'm just going to put that out there where I know everybody likes to think they all know the story. I know that IF Studios was the place they were renting, and IF Studios would have come through Neal's relationship and not Dick's. So I don't know who the first person was, but I know they did go into continuity together. And then I know that Neal did far more commercial work, which was what continuity was about. Dick was still doing a lot of comic art, so he was kind of busy with DC's work. And Neal was running all of his money through continuity. And I think they just hit the point where Dick did not want to put in as much into continuity. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I think Dick loved comics. I think Neal loved doing art, whether that was commercial or comics. So I
Mhm.
think that it just hit a point where Neal was putting a lot into it. Dick was going a different way in a way. And then the separation of continuity between Neal and Dick, which was on a friendly basis. There was no bad feelings either way with either one of them.
No, Dad always spoke really well of Dick.
Right. And then they broke apart, and I think Neal bought Dick's share for $1. And then Neal made continuity his from then on.
Mhm.
I know the name continuity sounds like it came from Dad. That would be a Dad word. So I think in some ways it's probably was always more a Neal germination, and I think Dick went with Neal and made it happen.
Well, they were certainly a good pair to do that with the experience they had,
Yes.
in all facets of the comic industry. I mean, they were a great pair, and I know that
And they were both
DC really relied on them.
They were both very strong men, very smart men, two family men, both hardworking,
and both with a good sense of humor too.
And both with a good sense of humor. That is true.
Because whenever we talk about Dick, I think of that going to collect money story that Dad told.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
Where there was some commercial client who didn't pay them off. And, I know even when I first started working at Continuity, I was a receptionist, but you ended up having to do the checks and all of that. And Continuity was tight. I remember, having to like convince Con Ed not to shut off our lights because we were late in paying a Con Ed bill and stuff like that. And there was a client that apparently owed them money, and Neal and Dick went together, and Dick, if you put on those dark sunglasses.
Right. Well, apparently, according to Dad, what he told, and Dick pretty much always wore suits as well.
Yes.
So he kind of had, not in a bad way, kind of looked a bit mafia. So Dad told him to come with him on this, to this agency, and he said, just don't say anything. And they went there to collect the money, and Dad's like, and Dick was just sitting there just looking upset and not happy. And apparently it scared them enough that within like 20 minutes they went and brought a check.
Right.
Dick didn't say a word. Not a peep.
But they were,
I would never have guessed he would have been the muscle of the pair.
Right.
Well, but it worked out well then. That's funny. I mean, I would never have guessed that at all. But well, that's
they were a team. There was a time period they were a very tight team. So a lot of the Academy of Comic Book Arts was out of Continuity Studios. It's the front room of Continuity has had many things happen in it, whether it was the Academy of Comic Book Arts or whether you're talking about the Comic Book Creators Guild. It all comes to continuity was the fair place to go in between DC and Marvel. We were also the bathroom that was in between DC and Marvel. So everybody would stop at Continuity everybody would hand in work on Fridays or pick up checks on Fridays, and everybody would stop at Continuity because Continuity always had a free cup of coffee
and a clean bathroom.
And we were between the two companies.
I mean, Continuity fostered so many, great artists who are, who are out there today.
It was also a place where guys that were looking to break into comics, when they were getting their start, needed to make money, and they would come to Continuity. They would do storyboard frames or whatever ad agency stuff that Dad had around.
Also, Dick brought in a lot of assistants. That's where Dick did play a big role in, your Terry Austins, Salomon Dola. I mean, there are a lot of inker guys that between Jack Abel, and we had Jack Abel up at the studio as well. There were a lot of Dick assistants. Neal had Larry Hama was Dad's assistant, who we love. You know, so the two of them had their own groups that helped them get through work, and then sometimes it was a united front of everybody getting through work.
Yeah, a lot of late nights though, I imagine.
Yes, yes, lots of late nights.
Yes,
All
I've
the
heard many of the crusty bunker stories are, that have been told or written about, or they're always enjoyable, because
Mhm.
it's neat when you hear about guys on deadlines and things that they would have to do to get books done, in
Yep.
short time frames. I mean, it had to be agonizing and and exciting, all at the same time for those involved.
You can do it for a while, and then you grow up and you go, "What am I doing?"
Yeah. There's only so many nights you can spend in, 3 o'clock in the morning, have your Twinkies and Mountain Dew to give yourself a little kick to keep going until morning, and then go on the whole next day. You can
Right.
only do that for
You
so
were
long.
groomed to do a food run, and food runs were like
We're rated.
were graded on how
Mhm.
well you could do. And food runs got pretty like if you
They were harsh, man.
right, if you
harsh
got pink
critics.
snowballs, you're dead.
Mhm.
Like they would bounce them off your head. So you learn very fast what are the foods you need to get through a night with a bunch of comic book guys.
Yes.
And what would be open when you had to go out to?
Well, back then,
The bodegas.
New York City had a lot of bodegas, so you
Yeah.
could go to the bodegas and always get food. Now it would be very tough because we have way less bodegas in New York.
You'd have to go to like a CVS or a Rite Aid or something
Yeah.
around here. It would have to be one
Right.
of our drugstores.
But the magic food runs were tough.
Yeah.
A big
Harsh.
learning curve.
Harsh judges.
Yes. Better have ring ding. Ring dings and coffee cakes got you a 10. Pink snowballs got you thrown out of the studio. You can
So you
leave.
learned right away, which snacks are the ones to go for.
That's right. Coffee cake ring dings. Yeah, somebody will always eat a coffee cake or crumb
Yeah.
cake.
Well, Dad loved the coffee cakes and crumb cakes.
Well, he also liked ring dings.
Dad would eat pretty much anything that was laying around.
Yes.
So, a question from David Barr, not exactly about continuity, but how did Neal get involved in the book project We Spoke Out? I was very fortunate that Neal signed my copy, and I'm not familiar with We Spoke Out.
Let me get into that. Okay, the book project, because I have to line it up in my head. We originally did a project called They Spoke Out, which is They Spoke Out was done by a woman named
video.
Lisa Clements, who she hired us through Disney to do an educational series of Jewish people who helped they weren't Jewish people. It was New York people who helped Jewish people during the war get out of different countries. So they did a whole thing on Mayor LaGuardia, and it was a big educational piece that we've run it at New York Comic Con, we ran it at San Diego Comic Con, and teachers just ate it up and were like, where can I get this program? And all kinds of stuff. And it did very, very well. And it was a fantastic project to work on. The same guy, Raphael Medoff, who was friends with Lisa at Disney, he wanted to do this book, We Spoke Out. And Rafi has his ways of like, come on, and just never gave up. And basically, my dad would like turn to me, and basically, it was always my job to convince whoever to do something that they never want to do. So, like, I had to talk to DC Comics, and it took us years to get this book done. Convincing DC to let us use stuff, convincing Marvel to let us do stuff, convincing whoever I had to convince, and then getting through the contracts of this stuff. It took us years to get this book done. But if I were to say who is really the mastermind behind this book, it was Raphael Medoff, who is he was the writer of the They Spoke Out project, and he came on to this We Spoke Out project. Well, this is his project. I'm just going to come out and say it is his project. Neal helped guide, and of course, through Neal's name, and I will say myself, we got through a lot of the contracting of it. And then Greg Yo did a fabulous design and put the book together and made it happen. So it really was a threesome who had a little bit of assistance by me, and basically that's how this book happened. But it is probably there. This is a very proud book that we did, and I would say They Spoke Out as another project that we are very proud of being part of.
It was hard to work on it though.
Right.
I mean, the subject matter, pulling reference, going through videos.
Yeah, when you sit and have to go through videos of the war for hours on end, you have to go outside and sit outside for a little bit.
Yeah, my poor daughter could not figure out why I crushed her so hard when I got home. I need to hold on to you. No, stop wriggling.
Right. You know. So, but they are two projects that I would say are very important to the heart of continuity. Is We Spoke Out and They Spoke Out. Matter of fact, I have, if you look at the back of my door in my room, it has all of my projects that I am most proud of, and that is one of them.
Oh,
that is
fantastic.
on the back of my door.
So Neal knew it when he heard the pitch that he wanted to be involved, and you just had to facilitate things,
and
work it out, make it happen.
Right. You need the Neal Adams because Neal will make the phone calls and make it work. I mean, it's not like it has Neal Adams artwork in it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's got a story of Neal's in it, yes, but I mean, that book is not based on Neal Adams.
Mm-hmm.
I drew it from, page 1 to the end. What that book has of Neal Adams is the friendships and the come on, we got to do this, you got to do this, we're going to do this. So what Rafi,
you can't say no to Neal.
Right. What Rafi did to Neal is what Neal did to the comic companies that then finally got that book to happen. And that's what we need Neal for.
A very worthy project, though. That you guys got your
yes. And I will say, Greg, everyone involved in that project worked their butts off to make that happen. Mm. And Greg Yo made a fantastic looking book for us. But it did start with Rafi.
And we may be answering this question, but James Rosen wanted to know if there were specific commercial projects which your dad was particularly proud of that might have been on the same kind of level as something like Superman versus Muhammad Ali. So something that outside of the comics world, do you think?
I would say, there are jobs that you'll do and they just come out fantastic, and that's a different realm of proud or happiness. I would say probably Maze Next was a big turning point at continuity. I would probably say our first moving mouth animatic was a turning point. Mm. And that was actually baked beans. We actually had a lot of it. It was the dog that sells the baked beans. That was our first moving mouth animation animatic. So Dad would probably say wasn't it Boston? Is it Boston? Bush's baked beans. Yeah. Because that was a big changing point of continuity. I would say the Nays Next B commercial, where we did 3D for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and 15 seconds. That was a big undertaking for continuity.
But we did so much commercial work. We'd be home watching TV, and every other commercial, it would be like ours, right? Ours, right. Ours.
Right. But sometimes you do you'll spend a weekend. We would spend a weekend doing 150 5x7 frames in color for AT&T of the Olympics. And the cool thing about that is then you're drawing these great pictures of the Olympics. And when you get the whole team of continuity, once again, we have great colorists at continuity. We have people who reference really well at continuity. So when you get that team together and you get to do good pictures, that's like a dream job. When we used to work on Kodak, Kodak was another one where all you had to do was great scenes of cute kids or maybe
or if you do that comp of the car with all the reflections and sunlight coming
Yeah.
through the leaves
Right.
behind the autumn colors and everything.
Right. So I would say those count in there, but they're not milestones. Milestones, I would say, is Bush's baked beans with a talking dog. And I'm going to even throw in that Spanish commercial we did. We had to do a voiceover.
I wish I had clips to play for everybody right now.
That in Spanish when you don't speak the language and you have to lip sync it, that's an experience.
Right. That was a push the wall commercial job that we did. And then, like I said, Nasonex the bee. That was really hard. And that, again, it's when you're not surviving on Neal's art there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, you're really surviving on Neal's brain of how we're going to make this work and how we're going to get through it.
That was the crazy thing about Dad, is that Dad artistically could tell you how everything works and could show you how everything works. And, you know, me being a smart ass kid, I'm like, well, I'm going to find something that Dad can't tell me how to do. I'm going to do the computer stuff. And, you know, wouldn't you know it, you know, if you explain how something works, he doesn't actually have to be able to do it himself. He will understand it and basically go, okay, well, if A and B make C, well, then C and D will make E. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. Because just try it. And man, every freaking time he was right.
That was the toughest part of working with Dad. He had a brain that could understand stuff.
Yeah.
And just, you know, make it work. Like Neal is like repping 10 different people.
Mm.
But in the end, what I'm repping is a fascinating brain. So I could say yes to anything. Between Zia and my dad, I could say yes to any job and just be like, okay, so I told them we're going to do this. And she would like turn to me and go like, what did you say? And I was like, yeah, we're going to make a dog and we're going to do a shot where we come from here. We're going to pull out till the cows come on.
Yeah, she goes, I told the client we can do this, right? I'm like, all right, give me an hour, I'll figure it out.
Right. And that was the great thing about repping up here is that between Neal and Zia, it didn't matter what I picked up. They would make it work. We can do 3D. We can do 3D animation. We can do 3D in red and blue. We can do 3D in stereo pictures. We can do anything.
Yeah, try making a stereo picture when you can't actually see stereo. That was fun.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
This mystic's body in that magic eye, and I couldn't see it. I'd have to breathe everybody else. Okay, does this look okay?
Right.
I was never good at magic eyes either. So.
Right.
Well, I discovered the trick to it. You have to put it behind glass and then look at your reflection, and then you can see it.
Well, now I know. I would have only known that.
Once again, Zia figured it out.
Well, yeah, it sounds like at the end of the day, Neal got the best out of everybody that was working for him. You know, he didn't.
Sure.
He didn't accept.
He was the master at that.
And that's you know, I mean, from your employer or from your father. I mean, I think that's a wonderful thing. I mean, you want to be pushed. I mean, if you want to be successful, you always want to be challenged. And it sounds like Neal was always very good at challenging you and those who were around him at Continuity.
Right. We got thrown in the deep end a lot.
Right. Well, I mean, here's a prime example. So we had just started playing with 3D.
Mm-hmm.
I came in with test commercials and I said, hey, Dad, let's do this be in 3D. And he was like, you want to try it? I was like, yeah, let's try it. So what happened was we took a dumb commercial and basically we 3D'd this bee in this commercial and it tested through the roof. The nice thing was the art director of this commercial, who was also creative director, was nice enough because he knew that we had done a way bigger job than he expected us. And now we made this Nasonex be a spokesperson for Nasonex, that he allowed us to do the finish. And that's how that came about. It was just another commercial we were doing. I was like, let's play with the bee.
Let's push the envelope.
And play with 3D. And he was like, okay. So here again, it's like, okay, we're going to push it to make it work, Dad. Let's do it. And he did. And then we got, I think, 4 commercials. And we shouldn't have gotten those commercials. We were in a finished place. a test
We weren't even a
commercial
3D place.
Right. And like I said, the client believed in us enough, and it was a thank you back to us that we got those commercials. And then eventually they went to a real commercial place.
Yeah.
And then the campaign kind of died.
Yeah.
But that is what we do at Continuity.
That's fantastic. Well, I have a couple other questions here. Mike Parkinson wanted to know if Neal had who were his favorite artists. I mean, I don't know if that's a question more about contemporaries, his peers, or prior to that. I mean, is there anybody that?
See, they're all answering, so I'm gonna let them answer. And once again, it depends on what era of Neal Adams.
Right.
Yeah.
I would
Norman
say
Rockwell, Bob Peak.
I would say Stan Drake was a big influence on Neal in his early days.
Sure.
When I was a kid and Dad was drawing Ben Casey, we would on Sundays go to Times Square, because in Times Square there's a newsstand, or there used to be a newsstand, and that newsstand carried all the newspapers. So we would have to go on Sunday, get all the newspapers, then we would go home. Then I would have to cut out all the strips that were realistic strips, and then I would have to lay them out on a table, and then Dad would make sure that he was best that week. And if another artist beat him, I was like, okay, I'm going to the park now.
Step up his game.
I'm getting out of the house. But basically, he is very competitive. And to go back to what artist, I would say Stan Drake was someone he definitely followed during those days. Joe Cuber is a big, important person in Neal's life. I don't think it's like stylistically, but there's something that Neal saw within Joe's stuff that Neal really liked. Also, he came off the boat back to America, and I think Joe Cuber's comic was the first one that he got, and was like so happy to be back with comic books. Then I would say Alphonse Mucha, yes, Norman Rockwell for sure. Neal has a lot out there. And I will say, Neal always made us buy comics, like twist our arms up here at Continuity. But if you left, like everybody leaves comics out in the lobby or the front desk, and he would always pick it up and usually disappear into the bathroom, I'll say it, with comic books. But he always was watching, like, who's around, what's everybody doing, who's growing. He would throw a comic on my desk and go, okay, Kris, when we do comics again, keep this in that place that I tell you to put all the stuff to, because this is a guy I want to work with.
And then he'd be like, Kris, what's the name of that artist? You're like, which one?
Give me some hint. But yeah, I mean, he changed as he grew to what artists became important to him. So. But I would say early on, I would say Stan Drake is a big player in Neal Adams land.
All right, well, that's good. I think we answered it as best we could. I mean, that's a good answer. I could see Stan Drake for sure being very influential for him. Stevie B also wanted to know. I thought he remembered Neal mentioned that he was working on a memoir or biography, and if so, was it near completion or any plans to publish it?
He does have one. It's
something of Coney Island.
Yeah, it's something of Coney Island. We have it. I don't know what we're going to do. I mean, here is the good side of Neal and the problem side of Neal. There are many projects at Continuity that he has all over the place that I can sit here for 20 minutes and probably ramble off a whole mess of projects. Now we're sitting with some of these projects. I think some of these projects we may move forward. We have taken this time period to lick our wounds a bit. We're finally going to New York Comic Con. That's the first Comic Con that we're going to be at. But it's really taken us this time period to be able to stand and be able to talk to people and not burst into tears.
Yeah, because there's going to be a lot of people coming up to offer their condolences.
Right.
I did a little test like a month or so ago at a convention in Long Island just to see, like, okay, what are we going to be stepping into when we do New York Comic Con? This will be a mini version of it. and we just need to be able to like not fall apart when
Right,
people come
right.
and talk to us.
So I think we're finally at the point now where we are talking about taking some of these projects that have been laying around for either long periods of time or short. One would be Dad's Coney Island stories that he did write. But it's just like we're all kind of stepping up to those. It's kind of like coming out of winter. It's like we all went into a hole and we're all kind of coming out of it now. And now we are kind of discussing. You know, it takes a while to step back into his shoes in a weird way. It was like I didn't want to be in his shoes right after.
Well,
it
he
happened.
was a driving force. I mean, he kind of was, you know, he was pushing you guys along for so long, and
Yeah,
I'm sure he has a lot of unfinished projects, right, that are out there, and now
right.
it's up to you both and the family to try to figure out which projects are the ones that you want to tackle. I mean, it's not going to be easy,
Right.
but I mean, you know, I can see why you had to take that time.
Right. And each one of the Adams children has a different personality. So, you know, where I will want to go one way, others will want to go another way. So it's also corralling that and what makes sense for us all to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been 4 months, 5 months, 4 months, something like that. And I think now we're finally starting to come out of it a bit. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to New York Comic Con. We are going to be putting out I think we're calling it a sketchbook. Yeah, it seems like it's got a lot of finishes in it to me. But we are going to have a book out. I think we're going to do a fancy giclée. We're only going to have a table,
a artist alley
a
table,
artist alley table.
Wow.
We're
Well,
going back to our roots.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to be in Artist Alley. Like I that's where I wanted to be. Matter of fact, we actually had a fight.
It's going to be like F6 or something years. Are going to be at?
I think so. But I would, you know, they wanted to put us into the big area again, and I was like, no, I want to be in Artist Alley.
Yeah,
I want to go back. So we will be in Artist Alley. We will have a table, and you know, we're happy to meet everybody again and see everybody again, and we're ready to come out. And we don't blubber half as bad as we did for a while. So.
well,
I
wish I was going to New York. I was planning on
much
it,
as
but
it,
I
as
kind
it
of
came a
backed out,
shock
unfortunately.
to everybody, it was a shock to us as well.
I mean,
Right.
his
Well, you know,
last run to the hospital, we thought was a maintenance run. Right. Exactly.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, we got to get his blood sugar back to normal, and then we're going to be fine. And he was super positive, very enthusiastic. I mean, he started a painting with me that I unfortunately had to finish without him. You know, so we thought there were going to be more projects, and we were good. And it just tanked that weekend.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I understand a lot. My father passed from sepsis as well, so I'm very familiar with the challenges of something like that. But you're never prepared for that. I mean, and I just can't tell you how my heart goes out to the whole family. You know, I mean, it's.
And we were like really close to that 1 year point, because the doctors always say, oh, if you can make it past a year after sepsis,
you're much more solid.
You're much more solid. And
it was
so
a year to the day. A year to the day, Z.
Wow.
Well,
he's a strong guy. You know.
Now that we're on this.
Yeah.
Are here.
No, but I will say, at least for myself, in that year that we had been, you know, trying to keep Dad's health up and making sure he was okay, he in the very last week planted this like seed, the Pandora's box of art ideas in my head there's so many, I don't know where to begin, and that's where this one comes in. She's like, okay, shut up, stop thinking of all those things and do this one. I'm like, okay, fine, and I can move along. But
now she's like down where she's got too many projects going on.
I do. It's awful. It's awful. He passed that little torch on to me. I'm like, no, wait, it's too much.
That seed went to Zia. So.
Well, we've got a few more.
Any other questions?
There are a
Or
few.
we
There are a few.
back
See, and
out of,
remember we were talking. When we started, you guys didn't think we would go 20 minutes without talking, and we've gone 50 minutes, and we've got more questions here too. So why don't we hit a few of these? Stevie B also wanted to where can a DVD copy of Death to the Pee Wee Squad be obtained? Do we know? Do we have an answer to that question?
Your guess
I'm
is,
not telling.
your guess is as good as ours.
You'd have to contact Trauma.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you.
All right. And let's see. I mean, Black Sheep Films
we
wanted to know.
actually we don't. I have no idea how you would get it.
I have heard you can find it on YouTube, but that's
Speaking of YouTube, Black Sheep wanted to know if any of those animated clips from those early ad campaigns are available on YouTube. Would that be on the prior YouTube channel that you guys were talking about earlier? And they look like they're frozen up. Uh-oh.
Well, if I'm going to do this, then I'm going to
are.
make a movie, which is very Neal. And that's how Death to the Pee Wee Squad. And that was financed once again out of a dumb little art studio called Continuity. So Neal once again is taking money from his pocket to go shoot a movie in the middle of New York City with a bunch of comic book people. Yep.
We had froze.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that. What'd you say, Rich?
We had froze for a minute, but we're back.
Yes. So I missed a little bit of that, but so that was a side project of Neal's, was the Pee Wee
Right.
Squad.
It was,
and actually the
we-
original title was Nana's.
Right. It's called Nana's. And then when we sold to Trauma, they made it Death to the Pee Wee Squad.
Oh my god! And the best was the poster. Poster they made for it, Trauma made for it, had nothing to do with the film whatsoever, except that there were two kids and like that was it.
Right. Actually, maybe we'll bring out the Nana because we have Nana's. Nana's is here.
The monkey?
Yeah, the monkey poster.
He's
is
here. Oh, okay.
No, the poster
Oh, the
for
poster.
Nana's is here.
Oh.
But we shot Nana's or Death to the Pee Wee Squad. We shot it after a day of work. We would work till
It was
9
guerrilla
o'clock,
shooting as well.
and then we
never had
would go
kids.
out into usually Soho from 9 o'clock to 1 or 2 in the morning, and come back to work the next day at 9:30. And everybody worked crew, and it was another Neal Adams project where you worked all the time. God damn it!
Well, except for me and Jason because we had school.
Right, but we would shoot around stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And was Neal there for the shooting?
Yeah, well, he was the director.
All the time.
Okay.
Right, he was.
If he was going to be there, then you had to be there.
Yeah,
If you didn't have school.
Dad and his mustache.
and Marilyn did a lot of the camera work on that. Marilyn was also in that class. Marilyn got behind the camera. She was the cameraman through most of that film.
Yep, and Mom was the photographer,
Right,
and you were
I ran
doing
sound.
pretty much everything.
No, I actually all I wanted to do was the clapboard.
I
And,
know.
and then the sound guy fell apart, so then Kris went on sound, and then I was on sound for the rest of the movie.
And then
all I wanted to do was the clapboard.
and
Action.
then all we ate was Popeye's chicken.
Right.
It was Popeye's chicken all the time. I can't eat Popeye's
Cheap,
chicken.
The
cheap.
life of a star.
And like I said, it was financed out of continuity. Continuity Comics financed out of continuity. Everything has been financed out of continuity.
And was every project a success, a financial success, or?
No, most of our
Okay.
projects are never a financial success. Nana's was, not Nana's, the Nays Next B was a financial success. The Astonishing X-Men that we did as a motion comic for Marvel, that was a good financial thing.
That was fun.
The commercial work is always much more financially good. Nana's
Neal was smart then, not just focusing on comics. Going after the commercial clients was really what helped.
right, but
keep-
that's what I'm
keep things
saying,
afloat.
because he loves his toys.
Hmm.
Commercial work pays for the toys.
Right.
Right. And then on the times where the commercial was sort of dry, he had the comic book stuff, or he would find other stuff to do.
Right, and to be
Mhm.
perfectly honest, he was doing covers all through this.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't a year that you don't have a Neal Adams cover out there. You're lucky if you can go 9 months without a Neal Adams cover out there.
Right. It would be pretty rare. Hey, Stanley wanted to know, and I was kind of curious about this too. Have you guys talked about doing any exhibitions of his work in the future?
No,
Maybe, we don't
because
know.
we think more. I think from at least my point of view. Yeah, to me, I mean, my goal is I really want to get Rise of Magic done and out of here. We have a tremendous amount of that done. It is gorgeous work by a number of people who were very young people at the time that are now the mega stars of the comic industry. And I feel that there's a lot of work that was put into that between Neal and Peter Stone, who was writing with Neal. There are many artists that have come through this with us. So I think for me at this point, I'm not ready to do that yet. I think it will come, but I think I need a year or two away from him dying before I can start doing things like that. I'm not saying we'll never do them, but I think they're just a little down the line. I am going to be talking to, this is interesting, when Joe Quesada called me, and I was just like, oh my God, Joe Quesada's calling. And he's like, are you okay, Kris? I said, yeah, I just don't know what to do about continuity. And he's like, okay, I'm going to hook you up with Alphonse Mucha's grandson. So I had to wait for him to come back from vacation because Joe had said, you really need to talk to him, because if there's a guy who's done a great job with artwork and somebody who's not around anymore with artwork, you need to talk to them. So I just got an email actually yesterday from Alphonse Mucha's grandson that he's around, and that because he's in Europe, I have to call him early in the morning. So I'm going to set up an appointment and hear him out on to what he would advise me to do in regards to that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go with Alphonse Mucha's grandson. How lucky am I?
That's fantastic.
It is fantastic. It would be what Neal Adams would want.
Right, of course.
Alphonse Mucha's family. Wow. Okay. I'm honored. And that is true. I am honored. So, and then I was just like, how is Alphonse Mucha's grandson your pal, Mr. Quesada? Wow. What realms are you traveling in these days? So I had to laugh at that.
Joe writes his own ticket these days. He can pretty much do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, wherever he wants to do it. Let's see. I just tried to see any questions I missed. Someone wanted to know about if you still have the original cover to Batman 251 as a question. I don't know. Also, somebody wanted to know about the YouTube, the campaign ads. Are they available on YouTube? And just seek them out. I mean, what searches should they do to if they can see them on YouTube?
The advertising stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, that's all test commercial stuff. So
No, that's not.
That's
not going to be out there.
Yeah, they're
Well,
not out there. They're like garbage. Like they come in and they go out.
Another question from James Rosen was, is a Ben Casey collection still in the works?
It is. Everything is in the works.
So you put quotes around "in the works" then.
Well, I mean, we haven't closed any doors to
I
any
think if
opportunities.
we
just
do,
not walking through any quite
Right.
yet. I think we want to focus on the Rise of Magic. And
well,
then
part of the problem with Ben Casey, and I will lay it on the table here, is
go
that
for it.
I never agreed with what Dad wanted to do.
Never?
He wanted to do like it was a book of like every year. It was just like 6 volumes of Ben Casey, and I'm like, nobody's going to do 6 volumes of Ben Casey. So there was a little bit of VV between Kris and Neal in regards to Ben Casey. Ben Casey also has a lot of issues as to who owns Ben Casey, because everything has been bought like 20 times because conglomerates eat other conglomerates. So even getting through the licensing of Ben Casey is a little like, and for all I know, you step out there with one foot and you put all this money in, and Greg Yo has put all this time in, because that's probably who I would do it with. Or actually, no, I'm sorry on that. It was Dean Mulaney we were going to do it with, because Dean had put out a number of of strip arts books that Dad really loved. So the Ben Casey's got a little bit of that goes with it.
Mhm.
And I also felt like, how many people are going to buy Ben Casey? And that presents, it's a lot of work. And how many
It's a
people
lot of
even
volume.
still know Ben Casey? And I would never do what Dad wanted to do. So
Yeah.
it's too many
Well,
books.
it's early work for Neal. I mean, I think so. There would be interest.
Yeah,
I think.
right. But he was
But
like,
it's still a lot of work. Book publishing is not a game where you make a lot of money. If you make money at all, I mean,
right.
break
And the
even.
other problem with Ben Casey is most of the Ben Casey prints that you can get are based on they lose a panel, so that when you get it, it is not laid out the way Neal laid it out as a strip. Or the Sunday pages, or was it I guess it's the Sunday pages that lose a panel because of, I don't know what caused it. But it's also, and Neal wanted to do his Sundays as well as the strips. So it has a lot of holes that were hard to do in the manner of which Dad wanted it done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just whether Kris will honor him or not. So, and I have not. Ben Casey's like here. I have other things closer. Baby steps for Kris.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Well,
know Ben Casey has a limited time frame. And that every day that ticks by, it gets smaller. So I know it's out there. It's just not my love right at this moment.
I'm loving it a little bit.
Yeah, she's loving it, but I'm a little more. But we'll see.
You
Like I said, there's a
need
lot
more
of-
siblings. You have more siblings, you might be able to tackle more projects. But what are you going to do?
Well,
right?
it's more
five
the
or plenty,
it's
thanks.
more the dineros. It's the money game.
Right.
We are going to have to do Kickstarters and all
Mhm.
kinds
Yeah.
of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff. Like I said, it is now all kind of germinating. Everybody wants a different thing out there. And, I don't, the difference between having Dad around and not having Dad around is Dad could always make money with that right hand.
Mm.
And that is a different ball game up here now. Now it's making money without the right hand, even though the right hand is still part of the game.
Right.
It's a different game. So now we have to play the game differently. And
Well, it's a challenge.
that's going to be a learning curve.
Right. I mean, if you guys are up for the challenge, I'm sure you're going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Or do the projects that you want to see completed, and then I'm sure that that other projects will germinate as time goes by as well.
Right. I mean, unfortunately, it takes money to do all of this stuff, and now we have to make money differently than the way we have made money. So,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll get there. We always do. It's like the little engine that can. I think I can gets up the hill.
Well, I'm looking through the chat. I don't think I've. I think I've got all the questions that were thrown around. So see, I felt I knew we could talk for another hour and not even talk about the artworks that we brought today to show off. But we should probably get to that. But you also had you supplied me with several photographs that of Neal's time with us and with you.
Mhm.
And I kind of put it together into a little tribute video. So would it be fair to play that now before we show
Go
off the
for it.
artwork?
We have not watched it. I was
Yeah.
going to I'm going to enjoy
Yeah.
it like everyone else is.
Yeah,
going
Rich
to
was
enjoy
asking if we
it.
wanted to see, like, no, we want to wait till the show.
Can you guys?
Well, I know we wanted to use the Superman theme, and I told Rich we couldn't do that because they would have made us mute it. So I had to find something that was at least comparable. So hopefully I've done that. But you'll let me know once it's all done.
Well, we understand that.
So thank you for sharing those with us. I mean, it was so great. You know, the pictures with the other creators, seeing Larry Hama, and there was one with Blas, the creator that I know was that one of those photos was from Big Wow. I mean, it was just really nice, and those early photos as well. I mean, I can't tell you how much. I wasn't able to use them all. I wish I could have.
Well, we'll just run montages of data conventions.
Right, and getting to see
Jack
those two photos with Jack Kirby too. I mean, I know that you know, and you know, Neal was such a champion for the creators that came before him, and you know, to ensure that the artists that were working around him, you know, all had their rights respected by their publishers and things. And I think that that's one of the lasting contributions and things that you'll always remember that Neal did for those around him and those before him. I mean, I think that we'll never forget that. I mean, we look at those things today, you know, as art collectors and fans of the hobby, that you know, we want to see those people whom we respect be taken care of properly. And Neal certainly was ahead of the game, making sure that everybody was taken care of. So I think the video stalled again. Yeah, their video is paused one more time. They'll come back up. Yeah, there we go. I think it's coming back.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, it's
It's those issues that you had earlier. Hopefully they're not coming back. Before the show, they had an internet issue that might have had to do with some rodents in the walls at their location, nibbling on some equipment. So,
yeah. Do you think we should close out and come back on?
You could try that if you want. I mean, this is the second time it's happened, but yeah. Why don't you do that? I'd rather, if we're going to move on to talking about the artwork, I'd rather.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Exactly. So maybe log off and log back in. And I'll bring them back in when they do that. Same internet provider as Anthony, says T. Gleason. Yeah, that may very well be. Are these machines on? Yes. And Samuel, you are right. Those New York rats are a tough bunch. So maybe they're back. We don't know. We'll find out though. But yeah, that was it was really nice when they sent me all those photographs. I was trying to put it together into something that was kind of pulled together in Neal's spirit there. Oh, here we go. I think we've got them back.
Yep.
Except I'm on the wrong side of things. There we go. Are we better? Yes. Okay. I was worried. You were sitting very still.
There we
go.
It was a video.
Oh, well, everybody really appreciated you sharing those photographs. So thank you for doing that.
Right. And the last photograph of Neal doing this.
Yes.
Doing Wolverine.
I had a feeling. I wanted to ask you about that. It was did he use himself as reference for things?
No, actually that photo was done. There was a time period on the nealadams.com that I had Kris's blog. And Crispy Noodle World. And basically both he and I did that together. And then my brother Joel photoshopped blades in our hands. And that was my front page of my blog that week when we were pushing the first X-Men book.
Well, that was very fitting then. Well, he had some fake claws in his hands. That would have been
right.
Nice.
I just couldn't find the photo when Joel did the Photoshop, and Joel didn't have it. So otherwise we would have said that one.
Oh, that's all right. Everything was perfect. Absolutely perfect. So we have a decent audience. We still have 150 people tuned in watching the show. So we let everybody know that we brought some art to show off as well. That we
we can do the boring art part.
Boring art part. I tell you, I know we could have another sit down, at least, you know, even if it was just for another hour sometime, and just talk about Neal. I mean, I think there's probably a lot more stories, and I think, you know, just judging from the audience, there's probably questions I missed. I mean, it would be you know, something we could do maybe after the first of the year, bring you guys back and just talk about Neal, and maybe give us an update on, you know, you figure 6 months from now you might actually have some projects that are almost getting wrapped up that we could talk about too.
Hopefully, that would be nice.
Yeah. But so I can show a couple slides just to kind of give everybody the overview on how we were going to do the sell the art that we're going to show today. If you saw the first show I did with Neal back in December, they're kind of similar. We are going to do for the first 7 lots, we're going to do them as auctions. So rather than a straight claim on the first 7, if you're interested in the piece, please place a bid on it. There'll be a intro dollar amount for each of those items. Don't do increments of $1. Do something more along the lines of 10, 25, 50, whatever. If you do want to bid on them, and if you don't want to bid on them, we'll be doing a recap at the end of the show. So we'll just walk through all the pieces that didn't sell. But so for the first 7 pieces, they will be going to the highest bidder, and we'll decide when to stop it. So if somebody places a bid after I say that we've taken the last bid, then it's over. We can't accept it. We've had that happen a couple times on some of the auction shows, but everybody knows how that goes, and we'll do our best to make sure the highest bidder gets those. But after the auction pieces, we do have a series of pieces that are fixed price. So those will be very easy. Just put every slide will have a lot number, so you just have to type the word claim and the lot number, and it's yours. And on events like these, I know a lot of times you like to kind of wait till the end, and so you don't have to claim it when it's on the screen. You can claim it afterwards. So if I were you, I would be taking notes on the pieces that you're most interested in. If you think you like lot 11, but you want to wait till you see a few more and then make your decision, maybe we're on lot 20, you can claim lot 11 at any time. So I always encourage everybody to take notes while you're watching the presentation to that. And if you do end up claiming any artworks or winning any artworks tonight, the email address that we want you to email is madamadams@gmail.com, and send them your name, mailing address, and the items that you've claimed. Now, I've put this the Facebook link because they don't have one of those custom URLs just yet. Everybody's familiar with the problems on Facebook that Neal had there in the beginning of the year. So there's that link, and we'll put that link in the description, and I'll also include it in the chat a couple times so that people know where that is, because they would also like you, if you don't mind, if you do claim any artworks, to shoot them a message through their Facebook page as well. It's just a way of being able to have a checks and balances system in case the email doesn't get through properly.
Yeah, the more channels you come at us, the better it is.
Right, exactly.
My motto.
Yeah.
Now, here, I want to show this slide.
Give us.
All right, I'm going to ask a dumb question.
Okay.
Are we the ones billing this?
What's that?
Is continuity the ones billing for that? Okay, because then we need their email address.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. That's what. In the what I mentioned that they need to do is send a name, mailing address, and you'll get their email address at the email. But you're right. If they contact you just through Facebook, then they should include their email address as well.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
Okay.
And as far as shipping goes, the shipping isn't a part of the price. Domestic shipping is $20. Most international shipping is for the art is at $40. It's based on location. I think everybody knows there's a couple countries out there where the shipping is like $65. I think it's Australia, New Zealand.
Yeah.
There might be 1 or 2 others, but those are the 2 that always stick out in my mind.
Yeah.
But by and large, international would be $40. And finally, COAs are available for $30 each for any signed artworks, but they're free for any artworks that aren't signed by Neal, because some of the artworks that we're going to be showing tonight aren't signed by Neal, and having the continuity COA included with those is customary.
Right, and we have this really nice hologram with Neal's signature on it that gets put onto the certificates of authenticity. So it's actually a nice little hologrammy sealy thing.
I like his little bells and whistles.
Yes, a hologram. Ooh.
It looked really official. I mean, I've seen them.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so we're going to start this off, and like I say, we've got. I think
he's going to go.
What's that, Rich?
No, you're going to go to screen first with the picture, right?
Yeah. I'll show a slide, and like I say, the first 7 lots are at auction. So the price that'll be shown is essentially the starting bid. And if nobody bids, it's okay. We'll see them again at the recap. And if only one person bids, that's the price. It's like a buy it now. So just keep that in mind, and just enter your stuff in the chat. But as far as the bids go, we know which piece we're looking at when you're making a bid, so you don't have to put a dollar amount and the lot number with it. Just put a dollar amount in the chat and we're all good. So first lot is a piece entitled Bathing Beauty, A, because there's two, there's a B. This is on 9x12, and the starting bid for this one would be at $500. And again, it's very nice, indicative of Neal's work. I mean, what time frame would something like this have been done, do you think?
I would say this is probably early 2000s, mid 2000s. This is actually from a commercial job. This is animation. Again, this was actually a tattoo. This is a lady tattoo who moved on the guy's arm. I have no idea what we were selling, but she was supposed to be a sexy tattoo, and she actually talked to the guy whose arm she was on.
Yeah, so she was like a pinup girl,
Right.
tattooed on his arm.
That's very interesting. So I had no idea what the story was behind. So that's
Right. But if you look at the one where you're not so tight, you'll see the guy's arm there.
right.
Right. There you go. That's what that was about.
All right. Well, no one's placing a bid yet, and I understand it's first item, so that is understandable. If you want to look at everything, we're going to look at everything once more after we go through all the lots tonight. So I'll go ahead and show the second lot, which is actually you have the piece in hand, didn't you? Or
Yes.
Yep.
might as well show it in hand before we move on.
Okay. There you go.
And is that on vellum?
That is on tracing paper. Neal worked on tracing paper in order to do animation because you could see through it. So instead of doing the flippy thing with the little pegs and that, Neal liked using tracing paper. So that is Neal's pencils. And we probably darkened his pencil to an ink on this and colored it digitally and then colored it.
And this piece is signed by Neal.
Yes, this is a signed piece by Neal. And I will say Neal's pencils are lovely.
They are. And there's a couple pieces, they're very finished pieces that we are going to show later that, I mean, well, if you're familiar with Neal's work, his pencils always blew you away. Yeah. His inking did as well, but the pencils were really...
He's also one of the last guys that does, I'm so used to does, now I have to say did, does do that finished pencil render, that like illustrative pencil style. You know, there aren't too many guys out there that do that.
Very true. Now, was this actually, you said it was animated. What did it actually make it to a finished product?
I believe this was a finished commercial because somehow I remember a tattoo girl talking to a guy. So I believe this did make it to a finish.
If we've got any of our regular viewers, I'm sure they're looking it up right now. They're doing a Google search on it right
I know.
now.
Again, I wish I had a clip to play to accompany
Depends
that.
on whether Cuthbertpedia is watching.
Well, actually.
Excuse me, that was actually a 2022
animatic. Right, exactly.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and show the second lot, and it's another rendition of the same character.
This is another position of the same woman on the same arm in the same commercial.
You're just wondering what the conversation was, right?
I'm sure she was selling something.
Right. Sunscreen, maybe.
Maybe.
Let's see. I know you're holding up the piece. I can see.
A talking pinup girl tattoo, probably booze.
But it was a test commercial. We didn't test commercial booze.
That's true.
So I don't think it was booze.
We only storyboarded and comped booze.
No.
Very, very nice.
Yeah.
So Neal did a lot of he would do a lot of the rough stuff here at this level to kind of, you know, rather than having somebody else at continuity kind of tackle that work.
Well, as much as everybody wants to claim that Neal never did anything, which I'm sure Neal would love to have that life where everybody else did everything.
Uh-huh.
I would say Neal did way more work than most people think he did or thought he did. So yes, everything. I mean,
We have cabinets and cabinets of
right.
commercial.
But there,
work.
I mean, I will say there was a time period in the early '90s, and here's like a good comic story, where, you know, I understand the comic industry is like Hollywood, and to a degree, this is like one of the fights that is currently kind of going on out there in comics right now. Is you know, you age out, creatives age out. You know, whether it's because fans get tired of their stuff or the new guys coming in buying comics don't like the older guy's style and now I'm into this style, or whatever causes it. Editors don't want to work with old grumpy men. You know, I don't know what causes it. I have seen it in my lifetime happen to many. And there was a time period where the older generation wasn't getting work and they would all come up to continuity. You know, we've had Dick Ayers come through here.
Win Mortimer.
We had Win Mortimer. We had Jack Sparling. We had Carly Anderson. And I would say that there was a time period where Win Mortimer and Jack Sparling did a lot of the pencil work of animatics. It was before we were doing our own editing. Because one of the funny things about Win and Jack, and once again being a rep at continuity, is that Win would always draw these women who had the pointiest breasts in the world. And when
you take an eye out with them.
That was the style of brassieres back then, you know.
Right, exactly. So here you're like going to an art director and you're like, here's your pencils and here's a woman and she's got these like bullet breasts in these shirts. And I would always have to put my fingers and go like, no, it won't look like this once we ink it, because I knew my dad would then take it down a bit. So I used to like hand in work by like putting my hands over like certain areas and go, just ignore this part. So there was a time period where I will say that Jack and Win did a lot of the penciling work. Carly Anderson did penciling work. So I will say there are ins and outs to it. Neal always took in the older guys. We had Tex Blaisdell work up here. We had Bill Drought work up here. And these were all guys that couldn't get work.
Yeah, Drought did a lot of work. I mean, a lot of inking. I mean, yeah, he was. Yeah. I mean, all of those people. But you're right, as you say, they aged out, and but they had a place to go.
Right. So the few times that Neal did not pencil a job was really, I would say, when he was supporting an older generation creative who was not getting work, and at the same time, he would be yelling at who was ever at DC or Marvel to give these guys work. You know, it went down to even like Henry Scarpelli and his name isn't coming. Who drew Archie after Dan DeCarlo? I forget what his name is. Anyway, Stan Goldberg. Stan Goldberg got thrown out of Archie. How do you get rid of Stan Goldberg? It's Archie. Betty and Veronica, they look the same every issue, every generation. And they retired Stan Goldberg. And his wife called continuity. She's like, I'm really worried about Stan. This is the first time I can look over in his area and he doesn't have piles of art. And there's nothing on his desk. And she was just like so horrified. And I knew, like, I could not imagine my dad's desk not having a pile of art. Every artist has a pile of art on their desk. Yep. And when there's no pile on your desk, you die. And I was like, Dad, we have to get work. And we actually were doing, it was a web comic that was going to go online for Archie. So we hired Henry and Stan to do the web, and Neal was doing the web's character, and Betty and Veronica were in it. And we were doing it for a company to go online with, which it never went online, but we supported them for a long time with that project. So Neal would do stuff like that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even Dick Giordano hit a point where he couldn't get work. And then there was a guy who wanted a graphic novel, and it was like 5 graphic novels, and he convinced him to go with Dick. And the guy paid Dick a ton of money. Dick was happy. And I think Neal did the cover with Dick on that.
Wow. So he was hustling for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Right. So it's sad. It's sad that, you know, we don't, I mean, I always said I don't understand if there's multi-generational fans, why can't there be multi-generational titles?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, we have 10 Batman titles out there right now, easily. We do order packs up here all the time. So why can't there be like, you know, here's Batman from the 60s, here's Batman from the 80s or whatever, and have those guys still draw that way? Because there are fans out there that still like that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you can still do the new stuff with the new guys. Like,
Right.
Why do we kill our own audience in a weird way? And then why do we put to pasture our creatives?
Right. Well, I mean, it's all about money at the end of the day. I mean, I was having an interview with Brian Bolland on Saturday, and
I love Brian Bolland.
Yeah, and there was a lot of conversation about that very topic, and Sergio Aragonés was there too, who was in one of the photographs, and he, you know, maybe Sergio was making that point more that, you know, there's points in time when we forget about certain segments of our, you know, we had romance comics in the 50s and 60s, and women loved them, and then for whatever reason we stopped, and then we forgot that there were, you know, that we and why? More because of money. We didn't need it. I mean, he blamed it sort of on television because people were getting their fill of romance and those sorts of things there, you know, war comics and things. It became televised, so they didn't need to read it in a comic. But you know, to him, it all came down to money. If we can't make a lot of money at it, we're going to forget about certain segments, kids, all, you know. So yeah,
but we're starting to open up young adults in comics or girl comics. You know, to me, I don't understand why there can't be, like I said, multi-generational comics. You know, like who doesn't? You know, there is a bunch of people out there that still want to buy John Byrne.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't have him. You know, that's crazy. And John Byrne is still out there and would love to still do work.
Well, he's doing his own work, I think, you know, now.
But I mean, what is that? You know, like, okay, so this guy's got to now do his own work, and who's going to see it?
Well, he's still got his fans. I mean, you know, you never know what'll happen there. You know,
right.
he's sticking to it, but
right.
I know what you mean. I definitely know.
It's like they should. I mean, granted, I can't believe all 12 titles of Batman all sell well. You know, so why not make it so that you keep your.
I'm going to call Jim Lee right now, and we're going to see if we can get an answer to that.
Well, just don't tell him I heard this from Kris. Because then he'll hold his head and go, oh,
Are
Kris.
you stirring the pot again, Kris?
That was always my answer.
You get that from your father.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I get that from watching guys not be able to get work, and that's horrible. So.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and look at some more art. And this will be lot 3. Again, this is an auction piece, and we're really kind of jumping around here too, just so everybody knows. We're not like going low to high or anything. So this is a higher piece, I guess. I'm showing it here, and we can show it in person. But this is a image of Batman on 11 by 14, very very finished. And the asking price to start on this lot is $3,500. Just a gorgeous piece. Now, this, you know, I've noted this before, but I mean, there's not a lot of dates next to Neal's signature. Is there a reason did he not date a lot of the work?
Yeah, because Neal never knows what the date is. My entire life has been, Kris, what's today's date?
That, and a lot of times he didn't sign a piece until like way later.
So
in some cases,
oh,
but
yeah.
I mean, he never knew what the date was.
Yeah,
the man never knew what month we were in or what the date was.
We're lucky he knew what the date of the week was.
Exactly. So I just think that's not his thing. So I would say this is relatively. I would say this has been within the last 6 years. This was done. Because this is based more on almost like a Frank Miller Batman. It's a very heavy Batman. I wouldn't say this is a Neal Adams Batman, but it's cool.
And this is going with it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the cool thing about this one, besides its own coolness, is we actually have one of our older certificate of authenticities attached to this one, which is one of the ones that's got his thumbprint.
And that truly is
On
a
it.
thumbprint. For a while, Neal was actually sticking his thumb in a stamp and doing that with Jason. And then he finally hit the day of like, I'm really tired of having ink on my thumb.
Yeah.
So yes, this does have the thumb stamp on it.
Was he a clean inker? He didn't come home with a lot of ink on his hands usued, except when he was doing the thumb stamp.
He never got ink on his hands.
No, it's
So he
usually
was a
food
clean-
items.
It was he food items ended up on all of his paper, but I would say he was a clean inker.
Yeah.
Like he never had ink. He also had like, you know how like I'll show you my finger because he'll say, Kris, I told you when you were 5-year-old you were gonna get that. You know, most people have that bump on their third finger from holding their pen
Yeah.
Middle finger.
or your middle finger.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your third finger. It's your middle
It's
finger.
been a long time since I had that.
Right.
It's a
So
weird memory.
So for Neal does not have a bump at all like that on his finger.
Because he doesn't hold his pen like this, like we all do.
He doesn't like.
And he doesn't hold it tight. He holds it like this,
Ah,
so that you can roll it while you're inking. Which I have not learned how to do this. I can do it with an X-Acto knife for some reason, but I can't do it with a pen.
Interesting. An X-Acto knife would force you to do that in a way
Yeah.
when you have to cut and you don't want to cut the line. So yeah,
well, I gave him more control.
yeah,
Yes.
it's a lighter. You could pull a pencil right out of Neal's hand, versus like I have a death grip.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
on anything that I'm writing with.
His brush inking teacher was a Japanese fellow, I believe.
Mhm.
And he taught him that style of brush inking.
That's fantastic. Well, that is a great Batman. I thought you were going to hand it to Rich so we can get a closer look at it, but it's been so why he's part of the. Look at that.
Grr.
That's right. You can act out the characters as well, Rich. Very nice. Again, it's 11 by 14, $3,500 for anybody that is interested in that.
A full figure.
And you get the old COA with the thumbprint as
Yes.
well. Very, very rare. All right. So next up, this is it's got two pieces that go with this one, I assume this was an ad campaign piece of some kind.
Yes. This is definitely, I would say, because it's not a storyboard, so I would almost say this could have been a
It's a
comp. A comp is usually used for print. And here we're showing Neal's pen and ink, and then color. Color is always, I mean, everything from continuity went under the eye of Neal. So if you did a not great coloring job, it went back and was fixed. Or Neal would say, give me your markers. And then he would just go in there. There are jobs that Neal did color. You know, I know one client of mine who was like, who colored this one? And then it was like a job that Neal colored himself. And he didn't color it normal. He colored it affected. And it was quite nice. But Neal, we all worked with the same marker boxes. Those colors were chosen by Neal. You know, his flesh tones were his flesh tones, but we all had the same marker boxes so that you could get through a storyboard. So you would have 4 people coloring the same storyboard. They all had to have the same flesh tones.
Mm-hmm.
So everything was chosen by Neal. Neal was up front. You know, there are many photos where you'll see Neal at a drawing board and then you'll see other drawing boards around him. Those drawing boards around him were usually the guys that were coloring. You know, Lynn Varley spent a year, 2 or 3. I don't remember how many years Lynn was up here.
That looks like Lynn's coloring.
But Lynn was on the right side of Neal for many years. And then she left and went on to do her own career. We've had many people come through here color-wise.
There was a question from Alberto about who was the colorist, and do we know? So we don't know. In fact, we can't say for certain, but it was someone who
we've had so many people. I mean, there are some pieces we know who colored. I would say whoever colored this was really good. I mean, we've had some color. There were some colors up here who were really, like, if you were jammed up, they got through stuff quickly.
Mhm.
There were colorists up here that did magnificent jobs. One of the things that used to blow me away about Lynn Varley is that Lynn Varley would do hand product shots. She would do the lettering with brush and paint and do like fantastic work. Logos, you know, Absolute vodka bottles,
Mhm.
where it has all that filigree type. You know, you do a supermarket where you have 50 bags of potato chips. Lynn would go in and hand letter those potato chip bags, and they looked like Wise potato chip bags. I mean, she was amazing.
A question for you about this piece too.
One of the colorists that went through here.
Mr. Easy Go Lucky want to know, is the color piece painted on a Xerox copy?
In this case, yes, this is a Xerox copy, because if a client, like let's say a client were to get this job and they were like, you know, Kris, I really love this, but I'm really not liking that dark color behind her, which is the reason why it's dark, is so that you can see the water. But let's say I have a client that like wants a day scene here. Then what would we do? Neal would have to redraw the whole thing. There wouldn't be a way of saving it. So one of the things that we started to do when the copier machines, I won't even call it a Xerox machine, the copier machines started getting better, it allowed us then to do a copy of Neal's pencil and ink and then have people color it. Or if colorists just had a bad night, you could still go back to square one. So it gave us a lot of freedom at Continuity to work this way.
Well, it makes sense. You don't want to have to redraw something.
Right. And a client doesn't want to wait for you to redraw something.
Exactly.
You know, that deadline doesn't change because you picked the wrong color. So.
All right, so we're moving on to, we skipped a lot here because I made my own personal mistake on lot numbering. So there is actually no lot 5. And so we're going over to lot 6. That was the piece that you saw in his hands. It's an unused Batman Odyssey page. It's on 11 by 17. You got a full figure Joker. It's almost a full splash page, Batman in it as well. This one's at $8,000 to start. So this wasn't used, but you get a mix of both Neal's pencils and inks in this one.
Right. He did. I mean, there is a page in Batman Odyssey that this looks like. But again, he changed the angle. I mean, one of the things that I love about Facebook sometimes is people will say, oh, well, here's a cover that Julie must have rejected, and then Neal had to do another cover. Julie never rejected anything Neal did. Neal rejected what Neal did. For every cover, there's a second cover by Neal. We have a couple of pages in Batman Odyssey. Now, Batman Odyssey, I would say, is very late in Neal's career, and yet he's still doing it. Look at what's wrong with this page. Absolutely nothing. He's already started inking it. It is totally penciled. Yet there was something about it that he decided, like, nah, I'm going to redo it. So most of those covers that are out there where there's like, here's a cover, but that one didn't get printed, and here's a cover that got printed, it was never an editor rejecting anything of Neal's. It was Neal rejecting something of Neal's.
Well, that's
Neal was his hardest critic.
Exactly. I was just going to say something along those lines.
Her own hardest critic.
Right. So here is a great page that would have been acceptable for sure. No one at DC would have said, oh, I have a problem with this Joker, or I have a problem where you position Batman. This would have been fine, but there's something about this that Neal felt was wrong. And yet look at how much work you got down on this. That's a great face down there.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Well, that's why he was ready to ink it. He put a lot of time into it.
yep. And believe me, Neal hates inking circles. So for him to even do it after he's got to ink some circles, because that means we have to bring out templates and those, what are those things where you curve?
Compass.
No, the
French
French
curve.
French curve.
So he started with the things he likes the least.
Yes.
Get it out of the way.
Sometimes get it out of the way. Correct. I mean, one of the other problems with Neal is he would like to ink things based on how tired he was. Inking was a pleasure. Penciling is the work, inking is the pleasure. And Neal actually pencils pretty tight before he inks, even himself. You know, most artists will not, if they're going to ink it, they won't pencil it that tight. I'll draw it when I ink it. Neal never believed in that. Neal always did a full pencil for himself. And then inking was like a luxury for him. And unfortunately, based on how he would save inking for night, he would do a day of continuity, go home and ink later at night. And he would pick what he would do based on how tired he was. So, like, if I'm not too tired, I'll do faces. If I'm tired, I'll do something else. So I never got a finished page because he didn't go page by page and finish it.
Right.
He would like pop around. So I would have editors calling and going, so where's the job, Kris? Blah, 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 blah. And I'd be like, but he has ink on every page.
There's like 18 pages done, but they're like all over the place.
Right.
None of them are finished.
None of them are. And then I would just get so crazed about it that I would actually send the editor, here, you don't believe me? Here, I'm going to show you what I'm dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, that was his technique. It
That
was
was
based on I've never heard that said before. Based on how tired or alert he was, you know, an artist was. That's what they chose to tackle that day.
right. Well, because you're using your brain. Everything
Yeah.
is about using your brain when you draw, and you know, don't do something tough when you're tired.
Gustavo wanted to know if either of you ever helped with the inking.
No, we filled in blacks. Every kid of an artist fills in blacks. That's one of the first jobs your parents go, okay, you can fill in the blacks.
The first time you do it is so stressful.
Right, exactly. Because it's like, I'm going to screw the page. Oh my God.
But that was also the best thing about doing Dad's stuff, because if, God forbid, you did screw it up, he could always fix it.
Right. So either they let you color or they let you fill in blacks. Those are the first jobs. Or you get to erase a page. Actually, erasing a page is
That's stressful too.
Your first job you get.
That's
And
stressful
now
too,
you can
especially
ask-
when you get towards the edge, the corners of the paper.
Right. Ask the Cuber boys, what was the first job if Joe let them touch
Oh,
it?
sure, of course.
I don't know if Joe Kubert let those boys touch his pages, but if he did, I would bet they would say probably erasing pages.
Very, yeah, I would imagine too. So, you know, Joshua Ginsburg asked a question, and you know, typically on these kinds of shows, Joshua, we don't have, you know, take offers on the pieces that we show. You know, the price is the price, so it is what it is. So
yeah, even on our shows, the price is the price.
Right.
yeah. Only when you know, we have different types of shows where offers are acceptable, but not on any shows that we do with artists are they done like that. So we can move on to the next piece here, since Zia's got it in her hands already. Let me highlight that one. This is lot 7. This is a green arrow recreation piece on 8.5 by 11. And it is at $8,000 as the starting price, if anybody wants to bid on it. And very nicely done, of course, if you're familiar with what this is from. It's gorgeous, and we not dated as well. Or do you have an idea when this one was done?
I would say this is closer to us than farther away from us. I would say this has been done in the last couple of years.
Okay.
We started doing recreation panels because if you wanted to hire Neal to do a recreation cover that at the time, it would run, well, we never did pages, we only did covers. So we would charge anywhere between $25,000 to $40,000, depending on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was actually a guy who called and wanted to commission a recreation panel because he was smart enough to put it together. It would be cheaper than getting a cover. and he wanted something from a comic that he obviously loved. So this really came through a commission. And I would say this probably has happened in the last, it's been while we've been doing the show. So it's got to be at least within the last 3 years. And we started doing panel recreations. This is one of them. So I would say it's definitely been during COVID. So this can't be more than 3 years old, this piece.
Okay. Well, not everybody can afford a, like you said, a $35,000 cover recreation. So doing something like this is definitely more affordable.
Right. And we tend not to like this. It gives the impression of being dirty, but really what it is we have left Neal's pencil. I never erase Neal's pencils on commissions that are in black and white, because I generally will leave that to the client who is purchasing it, whether you want to keep the pencil or whether you want to clean ink, you could erase it. And then you too could be a child of a comic artist. But you can erase the piece if you don't want the pencil on it. We tend to leave Neal's pencils there and leave it up to the client whether they want it or not. So a lot of Neal's pencil is sitting like you're seeing it right now in his clothing.
Yeah, there's a lot of pencil marks
There's
still
a
on
lot
there.
of pencil still there. So this can be erased, and it will look pristine like a comic page. Or if you like the pencil, you got it there.
Yeah, I don't think you'll get any collector that's going to erase Neal's pencils. No, not at all. I think we'd all rather, see the pencils with the finished piece for sure.
Right.
That's gorgeous.
It is.
And I know that doing panels as recreations has been something, kind of that's come out of the last 3 to 5 years too, or where people have switched to doing that. Yes, everybody's saying that it would be heresy to erase any pencils. So there you go. Everybody's in agreement with me on that one.
The first time you gave me a cover to erase his pencils on, I'm like, no.
See, and I never think anything of erasing it. I'm just like, okay, I gotta erase it.
You got to desensitize.
Well, you erase it so that you see that you filled in all your blacks.
Right.
I mean, if you don't erase a page, you don't see where you screwed up and didn't fill a black in.
Sure.
So that's the reason why we erase comic pages.
Well, that's a gorgeous piece.
Yes.
I'm glad he did it.
Right.
Let's see. We got one more auction-related piece. That would be an unused Batman versus Ra's al Ghul cover.
Right.
Issue 6. And this is done on 11 by 17. And same price starting on this one. It was at $8,000. So once again, he started inking this one too.
Yeah, well, you see, Julie rejected this one.
First time.
One of the rare ones that...
Right, Julie saw this like, no, Neal, no, we're rejecting this one. You have to do it over again. So again, this is once again where Kris is saying like, yeah, he'll go pretty far in a cover. And obviously Z will show you what the real cover ended up looking like here. But basically, I think what the problem was on this one was he really wanted this female character's fist to come through this Ra's al Ghul. Yes. And basically, at the angle that Neal did a lot of work on here, he wasn't getting the full, like, I really want it coming through this guy's chest. So if you look at where she is on the original and where her hand is coming through there, and then you look at what he did on the finished cover, which looks exactly the same.
Oh, it's a bigger effect.
Right. Ra's al Ghul's head is more pushed back.
Mm-hmm.
She's more
His
powerful.
eyes are more open.
Right. So that, and then he also could fit, like there's Robin and Nightwing, which I don't think is in the original first go round. But yeah, I mean, he obviously, look at that's a ton of work right there. Like as a rep, I'm like, what are you doing?
But he sent it in for
There's
approval
nothing
at
wrong
about
with
that
that
stage, and that's when it got declined. I mean, he would do that a lot,
Yeah,
but it's already partially finished.
Well, he would. I mean, he's the one declining it. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Nobody ever. I
It's,
mean,
he
maybe
just
there
didn't
is
like
a
it.
cover out there.
Yeah.
Someone will say, "Well, Stan didn't like this." I'll hear
Maybe
that
it happened once.
because anytime I make a statement like this, somebody has to come back and correct me.
Excuse me, I believe that there was one cover.
But I will say for all those covers, and here is Neal pretty much on his own, making his own corrections. So.
Sure.
My belief is Neal was making his corrections. Nobody was saying no. First of all, he was late all the time. Why would you say no? Why would you send him home and redo it again? I mean, it's
Sure.
And Neal is a type that will show a person like, this is where I was, but this is where I took it. Because you would always react to his where he took it. And you always liked where he took it better than where he was. So
Well, then he was
he's
his
very
own best
open
critic.
in sharing. Right. He's very open in sharing his
Sure.
experience with you.
Andrea says hi.
Hi, Andrea. And the other fun part is the girl character there, Kira Skura. Dad said he wanted to use my name as Boston Brand's sister, so that's Z.
That's right.
And he asked my permission, which I thought was funny. I'm like, you named me, so if anybody owns me, you.
Well, it was important to him to have your permission. All right. Well, that one is out there as well. We'll see that when we run through things at the end. So now everything going forward is all fixed price stuff. I mean,
Yes.
we've got everything set at the price that's shown. And we've got 3 related pieces here to kind of start things off. And I don't know anything about these, Kris, so you're going to have to.
For a sec, so I can find the page.
Okay. So basically, Chris's rule was, because everybody would be like, oh, Neal is so expensive. I'll never be able to have him do something for me. And I always would say, there are times where we have like 2 or 3 bad weeks of continuity, and we still have to pay our rent and our medical insurance and insurances. If you hit a week where we've had 3 bad weeks in a row, we will probably say yes to anything. So obviously this editor this is for SpongeBob.
Comics Swimtacular 2016 annual.
Right. He does an annual and once a year, obviously. And he would spoof a comic character from one of the big companies. So he called up and he's like, I know you're going to say no, but I felt I had to ask. And he obviously hit on a week where we were not doing well. And I said, well, you know what? Because you were smart enough to ask, we're going to do this job. I mean, obviously I went to my dad and I said, do you want to do this? But, we were in. It was like, we're in your boat. We're going to do it. And this guy could not believe that he got Neal Adams to do his SpongeBob spoof with Green Arrow.
The Green Harpoon.
Right, the Green Harpoon.
And Barnacle Boy.
Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy meet the Green Harpoon.
Right, which was obviously his spoof on Green Arrow. And he got Mr. Adams to do it. And this guy was just like, and when we handed him pages, it was like, I still can't believe I'm getting paid.
It's like Christmas.
It was an
They got him at the right time.
Right, exactly. So this is that job. It was a job we all enjoyed. Neal loves doing, cartoon style stuff. And this was a fun job. It was a fun job that went through here. Not too many people paid much attention because why would you look at SpongeBob to find Neal Adams? And it's a great job. And he had a great time doing it.
Well, I think it's like you said, it's a rare thing that you're going to see Neal Adams on a SpongeBob comic book.
Correct.
That's fantastic. And we have 2 other pages. I think it's all sequential, right? If I'm not mistaken here. So
it never hurts to pick up a phone and ask a question, even if the person's going to say no.
There we go. Here's the second.
There'll be a day that the person says yes. So that has been my motto forever.
People
All they
kept,
can do
some
is
people
say
just would just
no.
keep trying, right?
Well, all they can say is no. So what's the difference between sitting there and not making the phone call and them saying no? Absolutely
Right.
nothing. So spin the wheel, make the call, and maybe they say yes. Maybe it's your lucky day.
Well, I think that's awesome. I'm sure the guy was surprised when you took the job, but they had to be happy. I
Yeah.
mean, it's once in a lifetime opportunity.
I felt bad for the snail though. I don't know what that is chasing after him, but I'd be afraid of it too.
And like I said, Neal loves doing this kind of work.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I had the same question. I don't know what that is, but I know we're going to show the
It-
art.
here.
You put at it. And then here was the third page in that sequence.
Yeah, there's actually a page between that one and this one.
Oh, that's okay. That's because this one does say page 8, right? Okay.
That's because that page really doesn't have a green arrow in it.
Ah,
Well, it has one, but it's not a major green arrow. So we actually kind of picked the pages that had bigger green arrows on them.
so all 3 pages. I mean, I labeled them as lots 9A through C. They're $2,500 each from SpongeBob Annual 4.
Oh,
So
cool.
pages 5, 6,
did
and
get
8. Even though mine says 7 on here, that is a typo.
Somebody did something that one.
All right, and I just want to point out that Zia colored this comic book.
Well, this story, because there's other stories in the book, so I don't want
Nobody paid attention to the other stories.
I
They
know,
only
that's
paid
true.
attention to this one.
Was that at the publisher's request, or did Neal want you to
I
do
think
it?
because we took it on as a commercial job, because
Yeah.
it was a commercial job for us. So it went to the person who colored comic books up here.
Mhm.
And Dad could keep an eye on it and make sure it's up to snuff.
Right. So Zia was that person. Even though she's sitting here going, that's not me. But this may be a page Dad went over, Zia. Uh-oh, Neal Adams corrected Zia
He's-
Adams' words. Oh my God.
I'm fine with that. It's just it got snuck in. I didn't see it.
You know,
I know you did a lot of coloring for.
That I know.
work.
You don't tell me everything.
Let's see. Let me highlight that one here. So this is lot 10. This is
Family drama happening here.
that's the cover.
This is the color guide to Green Arrow 2, the cover to it. For $1,000, it's priced at 8.5 by 11.
Now,
And,
this is Neal Adams hand coloring.
Yep.
So this is a Neal Adams color guide, which looks pretty finished to me. But we were getting not great coloring on our covers. So Neal obviously is getting upset and doing much more work than he normally does on a color guide.
And they sort of followed it.
Right.
so he chose to do this one himself to make sure that they really understood what he wanted.
Yes. Yes. And that's a tight color guide. You could almost print that as a cover. So that is Neal's personal coloring, doing a color guide for a colorist who didn't quite follow what Neal did.
Straight a little bit.
I tried. That was partially why Brian Bolland said he went to digital, becoming a digital artist versus doing traditional work, because he really, kind of viewed his art as a finished piece, and in a lot of cases he wasn't, liking the way his work was being colored. So he just said, you know what, I'm going to learn a different tool and take care of all of this myself. And that was the end of getting traditional work from him, because of the just wanting to have his full vision realized all the way through.
Right. Now, Boland is amazing. I have 2 Boland stories. One is I love Brian Boland. I was like, I wish Brian Boland was my dad. But I love Brian Boland. I love Judge Dredd. I was a big fan of Brian Boland. And we were in the middle of doing continuity comics. So we were doing Crazy Man. And I was like, hey, Dad, can we get Boland to ink a Crazy Man cover? Because then I would finally get my Boland fix, right? So I'm all excited. And Boland says, yep, I'll ink your dad's cover, blah, blah, blah. I send it to Brian, and I wait my 2 weeks. It comes back, And I'm like opening the package, and it looks like my dad's inking. I was like,
Oh, no.
I didn't get Brian Boland. I got Brian Boland doing Neal Adams. And it
Right.
was totally not what I wanted. So it was like, back to the drawing board again.
These are not my beautiful pages.
Right. It's not my
I've heard of like similar experiences when somebody commissions an artist, right? And they really want like that artist's take on a recreation, for instance.
right.
And then the artist does it in the original artist's style. And
Right. Exactly.
I've seen collectors like face just drop when they get the artwork, and it's like, I wanted it to look like how you would have drawn it, not how they drew
I had
it.
enough of my dad's art. I wanted Brian Boland's art.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
Mike Lilly recently did a new take on the 251 cover, which I thought was a beautiful pencil job and nice alteration of the design. It's like he took Dad's design as his base and he lilied it, and it looks really cool. He gilded the lily. So there you go.
Wow. Let's see. Next up is lot 11 for me here. This is a Defenders cover prelim, again on 8.5 by 11. And you can see we've got Namor and Iron Fist, the Hulk, Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer, and a Red She-Hulk as well. And we show the published cover here along with it. And again, this is on 8.5 by 11 for $2,000. Very nicely done, and signed by Neal as well. I can actually show the original here. Switch over to your camera.
Yeah, I think what you have on camera is as good as we're going to have as art.
Yeah.
Good scans there. Except you can see where the rat that ate my wiring ate. Wow. So.
Right. Well, cover prelims are kind of the thing these days for those of us who can't afford published covers. It's just, I mean, we've been watching a lot of the auctions going on that are, from Heritage or Comic Link and a few others. And,
amazing.
Cover prelims are pretty, because they're affordable, and if you can't afford the original, then this is the next best thing.
Well, some originals are also so buried away that they don't even come out for you to buy them.
Very true.
Look at. I mean, there are stories that Neal Adams has done that I haven't seen the pages from yet. Surface. So there, as a person who is interested in a page of a certain story that you love because you grew up with it, there are certain things that never come back up to the surface to buy in Heritage. So I think it is an interesting way of getting as close as you possibly can get to, having something that's original.
Sure. All right, very nice. Well, it's $2,000 on that one. And let's see, this next lot is two pieces, I believe.
You're gonna have to hold the other one.
It is from a Fanta ad.
Now these are huge. These are big pieces.
I believe they were 15 by 19.
13.5 by 19.
Right. So these are 13.5 by 19. These were done for the Fanta client. Now it was South America, right? Yeah. Brazil, right.
Yeah, they love it.
They love Fanta. Neal did a convention there that was sponsored by Fanta. Fanta is everywhere. And Neal did this commercial job before he went to that convention for Fanta. But they did hire Neal to work with, obviously, the Disney characters to produce 2 very large pages, which sold Fanta soda. And this is penciled and inked by Neal.
And these are larger than your standard comic book pages.
Right, at 13.5 by 19.
And Neal does a great Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and Goofy.
He does.
So.
Now, these are unsigned, right, as I'm looking at them.
Yes, so they will come with COAs.
Right.
And there you go. They are, they are definitely oversized artworks.
Yep.
All right, so 3,000 for those, and now next up we've got a series of more kind of commission style pieces. First up is Vampirella on 8.5 by 11, and gorgeous inking on this one, and it's at $2,500, and this one is signed as well.
Very
Right.
sultry eyes on this
Right.
one.
This is a piece that Zia and I have been talking about, that when Zia gets a chance to possibly color this up and maybe try and get Dynamite to pick it up as a possible like variant cover, or maybe we'll do it even as a variant cover for the Krusty Bunker, which is Neal's comic store out in LA, in Burbank. So this may become a cover of some sort.
It's definitely cover quality.
Yeah.
Signed by
Which
Neal.
that has happened. We had a commissioned Batman piece that we fell in love with, so we kind of sent it to DC, and DC said, well, I'd love to pick it up as a cover. So Neal actually redid the piece as a cover. So we've had commissions that become covers.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's always great as a collector when a piece that you commission becomes a cover too.
Right. Well, this one we are considering. We have another Vampirella one that actually has been bought by somebody that we're also considering as well.
Oh, well, there you go. Nick Barucci said, I can pretty much guarantee that this will be a cover, so anyone who picks it up today
Yeah.
will be able to get it. And Nick would know. Nick would
Confirmation.
definitely know. And Rick Welch commented, Neal was not tired when he inked this.
No, he
No.
was not
No.
tired when he inked this. You are correct.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, there you go. Nick said we just have to finalize points, which he feels is more than possible. So, so there we go. So this piece, again, $2,500. It's on 8.5 by 11 and lot 13. And it is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So next up, and I think, let's see, let me highlight that one too. This is lot 14. It's a Harley Quinn color piece, again on 8.5 by 11. And this one isn't signed, right? Or am I missing the signature?
It is not signed, no.
Okay. Price on this one is $2,300. And yeah, the colors on this one are fantastic.
Yes, beautiful colors.
And what I will say about color pieces is that when we do our show, people will like, okay, I want to buy that Harley Quinn, and they see it on camera, and then when they get it in the mail and it gets to them, they're like, wow, the color is just better than it looks on.
We had a claim on Vampirella.
We have a claim on Vampirella.
Right.
Okay.
Who'd you get first on that, Bill?
Michael Rock came in just before Nick mentioned that he would be claiming it if no one else did. So Michael is the person who claimed first.
Hey, congratulations.
Yep, absolutely. And like Nick said, and
Nick is now crying.
Well, thank you so much, Michael, for picking that up.
Thank
you, Mike.
What he said.
Great pickup.
I never should have said that.
Now, as there was a question from Alberto, did Neal do the colors on this one?
Go ahead, Zeke.
The colors on this one, the figure was done by Tim Shin, touched a little bit by me, and then my brother Jason Adams did the background, which is a beautifully textured background, I have to say.
So this is a Neal Adams, Jason Adams, and Tim Shin with a little Zia.
A little Zia.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You know,
And is it on illustration board? I assume it's like a.
Oh, this is
Okay,
quarter paper.
Okay.
So it's about the same thickness as cover stock.
Sure. Yeah, that is awesome. And $2,300 for those who are interested as well.
And I will say on camera, it looks darker than the reality of it. I mean, her red is a real nice ruby red. So she really pops.
Yeah, most of our customers, when they get the color pieces in person, they can't believe how vibrant the colors are.
Yeah.
Yeah, some things just don't scan well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll drop one of my trade secrets. To get that really nice ruby red, it helps to have a Prismacolor poppy red. as your base color.
Oh, you heard
Everybody-
it.
You're giving away secrets.
For poppy red. Z is giving out trade secrets.
There's going to be a shortage in the stores like toilet.
I hope you have enough poppy reds up here.
Yeah, you better get
I
out
don't.
tomorrow and pick them up. All right. Well, that the one that the Harley is lot 14 at $2,300, and we teased the other one for a second there. The next lot is 15, and it's a Zatanna, of course, and it is priced at $1,700. The size on this one is the same as the others, 8.5 by 11. This one is unsigned as well, so it will come with a COA.
Right. So this is Neal pen and ink. This is Tim Shin figure with Jason Adams doing the airbrushing magic of the wand.
Came out really cool too.
Right. Which really pulls the piece together.
Yeah, no, that's it's really, really nice. The airbrushing is great on it too. So
Yep.
yeah, I'm going to switch over just so I can see, because I'm sure the colors are a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. I kind of thought they'd pop a little bit more in person.
There she comes all the way forward.
Very, very nice.
Magical.
Yes. Nice fishnets.
My God, I did fishnets recently. Never again.
Well,
Fishnets are tough because you got to curve the fishnet to the left.
Oh, I know, and you have to not make it look like you overstretched it in areas. It's a real pain in the tail.
Mhm.
well, Neal knew how to draw fishnets. We got that down.
Well, he
for
certainly
sure.
got plenty enough practice with Black Canary.
Yes, he did. All right, let me see here. Next piece, it's on 11 by 17. This is a Flash Gordon piece. I don't know if this was this a commission style thing that he was doing?
No, this was actually
A labor of love.
a labor of love.
Okay.
He basically did, I think it was 4 illustrations, and it was for Heritage 1B, which was like some fanzine magazine. And he did these fabulous, like little panel, but gorgeous panel work of Flash Gordon, Tarzan, and
John Carter.
John Carter of Mars. And he loved it so much. Well, he must have loved it because for Neal to do 4 of those tight illustrative panels. And then one day, he comes in and Neal had this way of flicking art onto your desk that is like just so non-respectful of the artwork when you think about it.
It sort of reminded me like a card dealer, but
Right.
like different.
Right. So he like flipped this onto my desk and he was like, "So what do you think?" And I was like, "Well, it's that thing you like and you've redone it. Who's it for?" And he said, "Nope, did it for myself." So this, for Neal to do a piece, okay, when you guys say did Neal ever sketch? Is there like a sketch pad of Neal? No, Neal only drew to make money, always. This is a piece. Now, granted, he gave it to me to sell it, so it was to make money. But he really this is a piece that he did for himself. Because he knew this would be a tough one to sell. But he needed to get it out of his system again. So this is a labor of love piece by Neal.
Oh,
And
that's
this it's Flash Gordon versus a Banff.
And they're on Mars.
And they're on Mars.
So basically, in the story, Tarzan died, and they brought the body to Mars.
Like you do.
Yeah, Flash Gordon and John Carter.
I guess they were going to fix him on Mars or something.
We had those plans for Dad, but we couldn't afford it.
Who is it that always helps us out? Who knows?
Cuthbert.
Right. He probably
Ray
knows
Cuthbert.
what this story is. We need Ray with us tonight. 'Cause
We refer to him as Cuthbertpedia.
right.
Oh, Ray
He's supposed to
Cuthbert.
know the story behind this, but it was originally printed. Well, the original ones were originally printed in a Heritage 1B.
That was the name of the fanzine.
Yeah, and this is a recreation of one of those panels.
Oh, that creature is not walking away from that stabbing right there.
No,
No.
it ruined his day.
But Neal loves doing that stuff. Neal loves that kind of savagey, and he does it really well.
Yeah.
You know, the savage with the swords and cutting into horrible creatures was like a side of him that I think he liked doing. Like it's different
Because he
than
didn't get to
Batman.
do it a lot.
Right,
So.
it's different than Batman.
Right. And, a lot of artists that came out of that period, those are the stories that meant a lot to them, right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether it's John Carter or Flash Gordon. I mean, those, I know a lot of creators who, and for me, it's like, that wasn't, that's not my thing. I mean, it's too early for me. It's like Conan was big in the early 70s, right? And into the maybe early 80s, but Conan's not as popular anymore. Every generation has their most popular characters, and I'm sure Neal was really, this is something that excited him to do.
Right. And Neal, going back to what artists, had an influence and power on Neal, I would say Al Williamson. I mean, Alex Raymond, yes. Al Williamson was also another artist who Neal had tons of respect for out there. And Neal always fought for Al Williamson to do Flash Gordon. Get Al Williamson to do Flash Gordon. That's what you want. And but he loved Al Williamson's work.
Well, I do as well. I've never owned anything by him, unfortunately. But so that piece was $8,000. It was lot 16. So we can
And
go
that
ahead
is a cover size piece of art.
11 by 7.
11 by 7. Yeah. All right. So okay, moving over to the next lot. So this is lot 17, and it's a Dark Phoenix color piece, an 8.5 by 11 as well. This one's $1,900.
This is on a toned Canson paper, which is why she's got that complete tone.
I was just going to ask you that because I wasn't sure if that was all painted or if it was partially the paper it was on.
Yeah, no, the background behind her, that's the tone of the paper, and all the color was built on top of that.
It was another one of those experiments that Neal played with for a while, was doing pieces on toned paper. Like we have a Captain America that was done on a very blue, dark blue paper, and then certain colors didn't work. It was just too dark that you couldn't pull a character out of it.
Yeah, you would have to like opaque paint over it.
Yeah. So this was experimenting in colored paper.
And did he do the coloring on this one?
Jason did the coloring on this one.
Got it. Now let's switch over to your camera as well. Oh yeah, you can see the texture on the paper there. Yeah, nice.
I mean, it was on commission stuff. It was, I mean, everything is gone over by Neal's magnifying glass. Nothing ever left continuity without Neal's approval.
Yep.
Much to the chagrin of a lot. I mean, people have been mad at me for that. Like, why do you have to show them? It's like, because you got to show them. Zia and I have that fight quite often.
Because I showed this to Neal. Damn.
So, nothing left continuity without his approval. And a lot of times things went back to, talk to Tim Shin. How many times did coloring go back to Tim Shin?
Mm-hmm.
Or it would come to me to fix.
Right. Because sometimes it was easier for Neal to communicate with Zia as to what he really wanted.
Yeah.
Or
he could sit over my shoulder.
Right. Exactly. Or he could sit with you on a computer in coloring comics and have you do what he wanted. Mm-hmm. So as much as Neal didn't color this, I would say, Neal pretty much.
He directed it. He directed
everything. Yeah. Right.
And Zia, you didn't mind him sitting over your shoulder?
Sometimes.
I plead the fifth. Nah, I didn't mind, because I always learn something. Whether begrudgingly or not.
Right.
I always learn something. So I
You knew you were learning, and
actually the one that blew me away is when he told me that when I'm coloring gold, put green in it. I was like, no. And then he showed me, I'm like, No, that can't work. And I've actually tried it myself, and I haven't figured out how to make it work yet. I'm still working on that.
But he did it. He put
Well,
green
he
into
does
it, and it.
He does do it with green.
He does. And then the other one was when we were coloring Cyberrad, and Dad wanted me to color his blue jeans, but he wanted a yellow wash over it for yellow light. And I said, yeah, but that's going to turn it green. He goes, no, it'll be blue with a yellow wash. I'm like, yeah, but blue and yellow make green. No. I'm like, wait, if I take blue and I take yellow, it makes green. No, it doesn't. It's going to be blue with a yellow wash. Just do it. I'm like, okay. And I did it, and I don't know, it's green, but he said it's
Sometimes
blue.
I don't know how, sometimes I don't know how he lived in our world.
Yeah.
You know,
he
we
suffered my
must-
idiocy.
Right.
You have no
Well,
idea.
it's not that, but just having to listen to our mouths all day. Just disagree all day long. Like, how do you just finally not yell like, shut up and just do it? You know,
Well,
which he never did. He would explain it to us as many times as we would fight with him. It didn't work.
There did hit a point where I stopped arguing with him. And then we had a guy out in California who was doing computer stuff. And Dad was trying to tell him how he wanted it done. And he's like, no, it doesn't work that way. We got to do it this way because it's the technique and blah, 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 blah. And it was like, and I was running out of time. I was getting tired of the conversation. So I just got on the phone. I said, look, dude, do you get paid if it's right? And he goes, yeah. I said, okay, do you get paid if it's wrong? He goes, yeah. And I'm like, then shut up and just do it. I said, if you're right, you get to tell Neal you were right. But if you were wrong, you're going to have to answer for that one.
Right.
So then he shut up and did it, and it worked.
But Dad never got there.
But the best part was after we got off the phone, Dad reached into his pocket. He pulled out a $20 bill and handed it to me.
Because you finally said it for him. But
Right.
Like I said, I give him that he listens to everybody disagree with him.
Yeah.
I mean, we all disagreed with him.
But Dad liked a good argument, though.
That is true.
Dad could take any side of an argument because he was a great debater.
Yes.
Whether he believed it or not, if he just decided he wanted to debate you, he could do it and win because he would just wear you out.
Or he was right.
Or he was right.
So back to Dracula here.
Yes.
So this is a Dracula. I don't know what this came from, why we did this.
Because why not?
This could be a why not Dracula. I mean, Neal does like Dracula. He did Werewolf Frankenstein, Dracula, Transylvania, and
then he did that piece of the vampire in the jail cell.
yes, we did that. And we also did Dracula for the Martin Scorsese movie.
That's right.
So he does like himself Dracula. So I'm not quite sure what this was used for. Was it Martin Scorsese?
No, it was the Scorsese.
It was
the Gary Oldman Dracula.
who
Yeah, that was the
Coppola.
Coppola.
Coppola,
Sorry, wrong director. Coppola. So he also worked on that. But he does like himself a Dracula now and then.
well, and this one's a little bit bigger than those other ones too. It's on 11 by 14,
Yep.
and price on this one is $1,800.
And this has a lot of his pencil work still on it.
Here we go. Go back
can
to
see a
full
lot of
screen here.
The pencil lines under the ink, which is always cool. Signature Neal hand there coming at you.
I see what you're doing.
Beautiful
Yeah,
piece.
very nice.
And it's
Weather
signed.
performed. Yeah, and it is signed. And else world. I was just reading through the comments there, but it's all right. Very, very nice Dracula. So Universal monsters there. That's always fun. Now let's see.
All right.
Is that the
This
next one?
piece, yeah, this piece is coming up. This
There we
is
go.
an antique.
This is an oldie.
Yeah, this is even older than vintage at this point. This is a pencil for a commercial job that Neal did, I'm sure, during Ben Casey days. Because I know we did bowling ads when I was a kid. So this has got to be like 64, 63, somewhere in there. And this is Neal's pencils.
It's before my time.
Oh, yeah. And
It's pre-Z.
And
Crazy.
it even has a note Neil had to change or make sure somebody
This
was
is
happy.
Yeah.
Right, that he has to make somebody happy. So this is a commercial piece. I don't know if what happened. Like I don't know if Neil inked it a different way or something like that. Why is it just pencil? That I
done because he's got that swirl there too.
right,
Something had to come out.
right. So this is an antique vintage commercial job by Neil.
And around what year do you think this might have been done?
I would say 63,
63,
64,
64. Wow.
65. This is pre-comic books, guys.
So if you're looking for an early vintage Neal piece
Right, this is before Batman, I'll tell you that.
and you don't want to pay a fortune, this is your chance.
Very young Neal Adams here.
So this would be before his DC work.
Hmm.
Yeah. Definitely before. This is during Ben Casey.
Tight early pencils by Neal.
Yeah, it really is. And that one's unsigned, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. This would be like a John Stone and Cushing job.
Wow. Very, very nice. Oh, and let's switch over to the next one here. This is lot 20, Raza al Ghul on 8.5 by 11. And the price on this one is $1,800. Classic Neal image on this one.
Yep. Everybody loves themselves a Raza al Ghul.
Black Shoe Films wanted to know if PayPal is accepted for payment on these pieces.
For sure.
Absolutely.
I've imagined so. Thank you for answering that. So there you go, Black Shoe. PayPal is good. And, we didn't talk about it too, but I know that you do accept payment plans if somebody's on the fence about something. That, what's the normal procedure that you follow for that?
Normally what we do is we do 1/3 to 1/4 of the price down as a down payment. And then within a reasonable time period, we allow you to come up with your own payment and your payment schedule, basically. And then once the piece is paid off, we ship it to you.
Easy enough. Very fair.
It's very fair.
And there's no penalties. If you skip a certain amount of time, there's no penalty fee and there is no interest.
Just maintain good communication.
Yes. Amen to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, we've had guys who've lost their jobs and whatnot, and we don't hear from them, and we call them up, and they go, I really don't want to give up the piece. And we're like, hey, it's fine. Just let us know. I'm sure you're going to get a job. And within like a couple of weeks, that guy got a job, and he started making his payments, and now he has his piece.
Sure.
So we understand that, stuff happens.
Okay. So, hey, Bill. I have a guy who buys from us who wants to buy the Dracula.
Uh-huh.
So what do you want me to do? Because he never goes through normal channels.
Oh, so he's not in the chat.
I love him dearly, but he never follows channels because he's
protocol.
He's very like.
Well, we have this happen every now and again. If that's okay with me, I'll just mark it as sold. You've got the name of the buyer.
Yep, I got it.
All right, I will go ahead and highlight that one and mark it as sold. Well, congratulations to them. But no, this does happen. So I totally get it. All right, so that was so lot 18. So everybody's aware
Right,
is the lot that's sold.
I can vouch for that person.
Yeah, he's a longtime buyer of ours.
Okay, well, let me, so just as a reminder, just so I can show that one again, lot 20 was the Raza al Ghul, $1,800 at 8.5 by 11. And this is the next piece. It's 8.5 by 11 as well. It is, of course, Spider-Man, and it's the figure and the webbing is all linked. You can see you got a cityscape all around him as well in pencil, and this one's at $1,700.
Yeah, Spider-Man is that one that he did very often. He liked to show expressions, and Spider-Man you can't really show facial expressions with, so it wasn't something he did often.
Too many lines.
But when he does it, did it beautifully.
This one looks like a cover prelim to me. It's kind of a slightly different angle than that Spider-Man cover that he did.
Could be.
When did he do a Spider-Man cover? Do you remember which project?
You remember what year that was?
I don't know, remember what year. It's been within the last 7 to 8 years because it was during the conventions that we did it. So I break everything by what were we working on in my life. So I would say conventions is about 7 to 8 years. So within the last 7 to 8 years.
And Jason actually says it is a cover prelim.
Okay, there you go.
And partially inked. Yeah, it's beautiful.
He's taking it away from you, see.
Yeah, here, let's switch it over to the live.
Yeah, the one thing you may not be able to see in the scan is Neal penciled in buildings all along here. And the more I looked at it, it looks similar to the buildings on the Superman versus Spider-Man cover. A similar angle on the buildings.
Yeah.
And he took some liberties with the Spider-Man outfit. You know, sometimes Neal kind of tweaked things the way he wanted.
What?
No, never.
Dad, tweet.
But Spider-Man's fully inked, and then you have very detailed pencil buildings in the background. And signed by Neal.
And you get the spaghetti webbing as well on that one.
Yep. And one of the few times he actually drew Spider-Man, which he didn't draw often.
Yeah, not his favorite character. Spider-Man.
Well, I like that he liked to draw some of the X-Men characters.
Yes.
All right, next up, this is a Hulk smashing pencil on 11 by 14. A very finished piece, and it's $4,000, lot 22.
And this is the finished pencil render style that Kris was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one's really stunning.
Yeah.
One of the things I really loved about coloring Dad's stuff, besides this beautiful artwork, is that he always put the lighting in for you. So I never really had to think about what direction or how many lights were hitting a character or anything. It was already there. I just had to pick what color the light was going to be. And a lot of artists don't do that anymore. They sort of leave it up to the colorist to figure out lighting and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Dad's old.
Dad's user friendly.
No, that one's awesome. Somebody I want to know was curious about the Spider-Man prelim. If you knew about what year that might have been done.
Like I said, within the last 7.
Within the last 7. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hulk smash on that one for sure.
Yeah, this is tightly rendered.
It was a gorgeous piece.
Neal was really having fun with Hulk for a while, doing a few pieces.
Neal hasn't done that much Hulk.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of Hulk in Neal's life.
No, but there was a little while that Dad would binge on characters. Like he did a Joker binge, he did a Hulk binge, he did a Harley binge. Short Harley binge.
Well, it's stunning. It really is.
But Hulk is the weirder one of it because Hulk is a character that Dad isn't really that associated to.
Yeah.
And yet he like, and he would shy away from Hulk. Like if I said, "Hey, Dad, I can get a Hulk cover," he'd be like, you know. But
on the other hand, I think Dad had a certain appreciation for bodybuilders, though. And
right,
he likes
but
anatomy.
He didn't get into Hulk till we started doing these, and then all of a sudden, he obviously found something that he was playing with Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
So
very cool. All
And
right,
then
well, that
he
one.
was getting some aggression out, one or the other.
no, I think he went through an art experience on Hulk.
So tell me a bit about this one. This is lot 23. It's $8,000 on 11 by 17. And you just gave me Spider-Verse for the description on it. But I see you also have a colored piece beside it as well.
Right.
Well, we had this digitally colored. Dad did this just because pretty much the entire family loved the movie.
Yeah.
And we were doing conventions and we were putting prints on the table. And Dad loved this movie. I mean, Dad had a good time with this movie. So he decided to do a piece for Spider-Verse, basically the movie, to have on our table for kids and adults, because that's what Neal Adams does. So this was Neal's Spider-Verse print that he made. So that was the original black and white line. This is a copy of the digital file, because this is one of the few pieces that's actually digitally colored that we're playing with tonight.
Yeah, I want to switch over to that the pieces in your hands. Yeah, that's gorgeous. The color piece came out great as well.
Yeah. Well, because the color piece fills in all the white.
Wow.
So if you buy this original, you get the print with it. And this piece is signed by Neal.
Yeah, that is gorgeous.
And Bill, to answer your earlier question about the Spider-Man cover,
yeah,
the published one Neal drew in 2014. So there's a good chance that other prelim was done around the same time.
Oh, 8 years. Chris is in the ballpark.
Yep. Yeah, that was this one that we're talking about. So 2014. I think somebody in the chat suggested maybe it might have been that time frame too. But...
yeah, that's when the published cover that Neal drew came out.
Yeah, let me show the slide on this one again. It's just a beautiful piece, the Spider-Verse, and it was used as a print, obviously, as everybody saw.
Yeah, and there's probably not another piece of Spider-Ham done by Neal.
The only Spider-Ham by Neal is right here.
Yeah.
Right. If there was, I would own it.
Oh, and Black Shoe Films has actually claimed the Spider-Man prelim that we had shown earlier. That was lot 21. So thank you, Black Shoe Films. Just highlighting that on my sheet here. So yeah, wow, thank you so much. And the one and only, I'm still I can't believe it. The only Spider-Ham is
you know
right
what?
there.
I would do a bomb at the end of the show.
We have a few collectors on Comic Art Fans who are big fans of Spider-Ham, believe it or not. There is a following. All right, so lot 24. This is a Conan color piece, 8.5 by 11. Price on this one.
Chris is in the Spider-Ham fan base.
Yeah. Price on this one is $8,000, and you know, a lot of work was put into this one. Again, I assume this is not Neal's colors on this one.
Actually, no. It's me and Dad worked on this together.
Oh wow! All right.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah, it's gorgeous.
Dad had me do my best, and then he went in and fixed it.
Did you mix did you mix greens in with those gold helmets? You know, the inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, well, Dad, you know, everything I did, Dad would eventually hit with the light cerulean blue marker to put in his shadows and stuff.
Yep.
There's not a single piece that I ever did that escaped the light cerulean blue marker.
Well, that's kind of the signature Neal thing then, right? He just had to have it.
Yep. And the nice thing about this is he also went into this with some paint as well. You know, not just the white highlights that are on Conan, but there's some other areas where he threw in some paint, like on his loincloth and in other areas. So this is markered and painted as well as penciled and inked.
It is a hard work piece.
And boy, I made a lot of work trying to make that sky look like it was painted rather than marker colored too.
Kind of got a death dealer behind him.
Yeah.
It's a cameo.
He just snuck in there. I don't know how he got in there.
He photobombed.
Right.
The
Yes, he did. Oh, that's great. I've seen, you know, when I was looking at that and setting up the slide, I didn't notice that, but I see it now.
Yeah.
Well, very nice. And
well, if he can
great work by you as well,
get
Zia.
photobombed by, that's the guy.
But not when he's carrying an axe. So
Yeah, I was going to say, Conan better turn around soon.
Turn around.
All right, so next up, lot 25. This is Superman versus Batman. It's on 11 by 14. Price on this one is $2,500, and it's very, very nice. I made a couple slides of it just because I wanted to kind of show it without the without my copy on it, just so you could see it a little bit bigger. But yeah, this is a very, very nice piece. And we don't have a time frame either on this one, do we?
I would say this is probably
I think
8, 9, or 7.
I remember convention photos from 2015
Yeah.
of him working on this.
Yeah.
Oh, so he was actually working on it at a show?
Yep.
Partially, yeah.
I have a photo of it partially penciled, partially inked.
So Neal would take work like this to the shows when he was,
Yep.
that was his downtime. He would
That was his
work
downtime. Gotta work.
Well,
If there's a lull, he had his portfolio. He'd pull out a piece and start working on it.
I find that hard to imagine. He had lots of lulls. I mean, every time I'd walk by his booth, say at New York Comic Con, there was always a line for signatures or,
Right.
I mean, so it's funny that Rich, that's your reference, is you remember him working on this at a show. That's great. Here, let me switch back to the live cam here as well, so Rich can show it off for us.
Right.
Yeah, this is
There we go.
beautifully detailed piece.
And it's once again Neal coming up with what would Batman have to wear in order to take on Superman.
Right, so he's got his kryptonite gloves on there. Make the match a little more even.
Yeah, well, Superman's showing no fear
Nope.
even with them on.
Now, if you're a Superman, you're only going up against Batman.
So if Neal had to pick between the two, who would he say was his favorite character to draw?
Between Superman and Batman,
Yeah.
I think it would have to depend on what mood he's in.
It's back to the money thing, or it's not money.
I'd
It's
say
mood.
whichever one's gonna pay better.
I mean, if it was even money, like let's say it was even money, then I would say would be the mood that he's in.
Yeah.
Because I think, Batman, you're in a certain mood. Superman, you're in a definitely different mood than Batman. They're two. I mean, I have done Coming of the Superman with Neal. I mean, I actually walked in the door on Superman versus Muhammad Ali,
We got a claim.
which that was a trip. But that was like my first job, were
Superman,
Superman
Batman.
versus Muhammad Ali, and
Cool.
getting phone calls from Julie Schwartz every day. And but I will say that Superman is a different, like it almost like the whole place changes what he's working on, like will affect everything.
Sure.
When we were doing Batman Odyssey, it was totally different than when we were working on Superman, the Coming of the Superman. Totally different feel.
Well, thank you, Southern Comic Geek, for picking up that piece. It's a beauty, and it will look great in your collection. Thank you for doing that.
I pulled it in.
Okay. All right, let me go ahead to lot 26.
I'm listening.
I think you worked on this one, right, Zia?
I did. I got to color this one.
Yeah.
This one was fun. I refer to him as my boy. This is my bae.
Well, the colors are super vibrant. I saw a video clip where you were taking the after you'd airbrushed it, and you had to take the film off where you're the
Yeah, people seem to really love the frisket pulls. There seems to be a certain amount of I don't know, pleasure
It's
to it.
cool because
Yeah.
you don't know what's going to be under.
It's very
But they
appealing.
But they
Yeah.
also seem to like the sound of it as well. That so-
Well, I think just seeing the process, I mean, a lot of us don't know what painters, do in their work sometimes, especially, with this type of painting / illustration, right? I mean, I think of several painters like a Joe Jusko who does the same thing. He mats out areas and paints around them, or sometimes they'll use a medium, sometimes even not the frisket to pull it off. So it's for me, it's always just being able to see how the work is done that always is intriguing, because every artist has their different process, right? But peeling a frisket is neat. I mean, you don't know what's underneath it, and in a way, even when you're painting it, I know you going into it with an approach that you know the color is going to look right, but when it happens, it's really that's the reveal when the frisk gets pulled back. And David
Yeah.
Bixler has claimed this one. Thank you, David.
Very cool.
Oh my God!
On Two-Face?
You made Zia's
Yay.
day.
Yay.
He's got a forever home.
My boy
She's been
found
so
a
upset
home.
that we've had Two-Face. There are certain pieces that, like, for some reason, just hang around.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is a gorgeous piece, and Neal loves Two-Face. It is a character that he didn't play around too much with, but when he does play around with it, he very much enjoys Two-Face.
Well,
Zia
that
has
was
been
gorgeous.
for forever home for Two-Face for a while now.
And thank
That's
you,
my
Andrea,
boy.
for getting my subtle humor. Because Zia worked twice as hard on that piece.
Oh, see, I didn't even catch it at first, Rich, but now I did.
Yeah, it's subtle.
You have to hang around you a lot to kind of
Yeah,
get
it's
into
that
the
British
Rich
in me
Cirillo.
that I don't
I
have.
get it. All right, so next up is lot 27, Harley Quinn with the Joker in the background. If you look really closely, you can see it in the background painting there. You get the Joker. This is on 11 by 16. It is $5,000, signed by Neal as well. And you get the Joker tattoo on her shoulder too. That's pretty fun.
Yep. So the figure is colored by Tim Shin with a few little touches by me, and the background spatter paint is my work. I actually most pieces, what I'll do if I need to pick a background is I'll Photoshop it so Dad can pick what he likes. And I didn't think he was going to agree to this one, but he said go for it. I'm like, yes.
So you kind of had to pitch him on the color scheme and that sort of thing, and he.
Oh, I always had to pitch him on the color scheme, but this was a long shot.
Yeah, usually Zia on backgrounds will present at least 5 to 6 different backgrounds that she photoshops in on a piece.
Because I don't want to do it over again.
Right, and then he would pick what he liked. And then,
Wow, so that was your process. You actually did it. You scanned it and just gave him some comps in Photoshop so he could see it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I almost never work without reference unless it's something I've. It's like Batman and his colors. Okay, yeah, as long as I know what direction the lighting is coming from, fine.
Sure.
But I always work with reference. Everything has got reference.
so does Dad.
Yeah.
Dad always works on reference.
I wonder where I got it from.
I always
first question,
laugh, like,
what's
if
your
I
reference?
ever
What's your
showed
difference?
how many files are in the Batman Odyssey file,
Mm-hmm.
it is amazing. And no one would ever believe that he would reference it that much.
Yep.
But everything in Batman Odyssey was referenced. It is probably the biggest referencing job I have ever seen him do.
Wow.
You want to talk
Batman
about
Odyssey.
the hair on this a little bit, Zia? Isn't it like a fluorescent paint? The Joker
The
hair?
Joker hair. Is
It's a mica paint. It's a metallic paint. So when you see it in real life, it has that sort of slightly metallic sheen on the green.
Again, something you'd only see in person. Not so much on the camera.
Right.
We have learned that cameras kill metallics, whether they're foil, paint.
I love how you did the teeth with the splatter on Joker.
All right. Well, this one's still available. $5,000 for the Harley Quinn with the Joker in the background.
And it is a very beautiful Harley Quinn.
And a large piece to
Right.
boot.
It is. It's truly a Neal Adams Harley Quinn. Like, I feel
Yeah, that
like
was 11 by 16.
that is a dad Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This next one is a stunner. It's on 8.5 by 11. It's lot 28. It's Superman, of course, in an ink wash with pen and ink as well. It's $6,000. And I mean, everything about this screams Neal, right? I mean, it's just the perfect Superman. I love
This
it.
piece is beautiful in
And
person.
this piece is completely Neal. The ink wash is Neal. Pen and ink is Neal.
And it's very rare because Dad did not do the ink wash thing very often.
A reason? Do you know? I mean, What was?
Felt like it. Felt
Yeah.
like, you know,
Why
either,
did Dad do it? It felt like it.
either it was a good evening and he probably sat with a cup of coffee and just decided to do it.
Right. Well, he had enough sleep. He was in the right frame of mind, and and just said that I'm going to do it. But I mean, this is a perfect piece to do that on. I mean,
Yeah.
without the ink wash, it'd be very different. But it's just gorgeous. It really is. I mean, I was blown away when I saw the scan. It is absolutely beautiful.
If you want one iconic piece of Superman by Neal, this is the piece to get.
Yeah.
It's very Neal. And it's very super.
I'll be happy and sad when this sells.
Yes.
I'll miss this one.
I secretly want this piece.
You're not alone.
We're gonna have a three-way bidding amongst us.
Yes.
Yeah. Very, very nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of subtlety with the ink wash in this.
It's Neal.
Beautiful piece.
Is there a little white in there too?
Yeah.
I couldn't see that in the scan, but I can see it when you're holding it up there. Okay.
Yeah, that's like white paint. He did the highlights on the
Sure.
side.
Yeah.
All right. That is good. I mean, I love it. And that one's at $6,000, and probably one of the few or only ink wash pieces like that we've got tonight. So, all right, that's a stunner.
Not like we have a lot of these wash pieces.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's a rare.
It's a
piece.
rarity that he would do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only one I've seen.
Because he would just bring it in and have us color it. I mean, he would, for him to decide that that's what he wanted to do on this piece is actually like pretty amazing. Like we're on vacation, were we not around or something?
Or maybe he was flipping through some other art book and got
Right.
inspired.
We're the minions to color for me.
Yeah.
His
So-
ink wash actually harkens back to his Warren days
Yeah.
when he was doing those horror books.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Wow. I mean, I love it. I just love that. I mean, the tones in the chest and the S and everything. It's just they're warm. I mean, you know, even though it's gray tones, I mean, it's great. It's fantastic. All right, so let's see. That one was lot 28 at 6,000. So we've got a few more pieces here to look at. And let's see. Jason said that your dad did Superman and Batman in the same night. The Batman sold the next day. I mean, no surprise if the Batman was done in the similar style. Yeah, I mean that's no
Jason
surprise there at all.
would be the one to know.
Because Jason handles a lot of art sales off
Yeah.
the site, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So next up is lot 29. It's priced at $4,500. This is Joker shocking the Batman with an electric wire, as you can see. It's on 8.5 by 11. Now, colorists on this one?
Colors is Neal. This is all Neal.
Oh, it's all Neal. Oh, wow.
Yeah, Dad actually did a series of these large Jokers, pretty much tormenting mini Batmans on cards. And this is one of the earlier ones, and he colored the first couple completely on his own.
Yeah, himself.
And then once there was a bit of reference for me to work with, then he would let me go in on it. But yeah, this is all Neal, pencil, ink, and color.
And the signature thing about the
I was
Joker pieces?
about to say the Corona Carnation, which he started appearing. I don't know which piece of art it was, but Dad did a Joker with a carnation, and it sort of had a grumpy face on it. So that sort of became a thing, and that happened about the beginning of COVID.
Right.
So we refer to this as the COVID Carnation. So any piece that you see with the grumpy carnation, you know it was in this time period.
Right.
Ah.
COVID.
Yeah.
Right. Because the goal was we would give up the grumpy carnation once COVID was over.
Sorry.
Right. I think we had a similar piece, maybe a companion piece to this one back in December. Yeah, this is really cool.
He did probably 7 of these. I mean, they're all very different. Sometimes he's torturing Robin. Sometimes he's torturing Batman.
I like the Voodoo Doll one was a good one.
Yeah, the Voodoo Doll one was a good one of Robin. So he just got into these.
Yeah, those that's and even looking at it in your hand right now. I mean, the colors are more vibrant on that piece than off the scan. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, sorry, Rich left us.
I think we went to
This
go
way
get a
a little bit,
water or
yeah.
something.
You've got a good reach, Sia.
I try.
I
Oh.
don't. They say I have Tyrannosaurus Rex arms.
Yeah, there he is.
No, that was Elastigirl.
And there's our little coronavirus.
Here he is.
The Corona Carnation.
Very nice. Now that one's again on 8.5 by 11, priced at $4,500, and that was what was that, lot 29. All right. Now next up, this is probably the most finished pencil piece of the pieces that we're showing tonight. It's lot 30. It's a Conan versus Batman. All pencils on 11 by 14, priced at $8,000.
This piece blew my mind the first time I saw it. I mean, the amount of work that Neal put into this pencil prelim, you know, you can just see all the energy, all the motion. Conan versus Batman. I mean, any fan of Neal's pencils would love to own this piece.
Signed by Neal as well.
Yes.
I mean, wow. No, it is gorgeous. It really, I mean, everything that you'd want in a pencil piece from Neal is here. I mean, and as a prelim, it's just amazing.
Well, it's also two characters you never see go at it.
Right.
Like, when have you ever seen, you know, a Conan type against Batman? Where they're really at it. You know, Batman's got that axe and pretty intense.
Beating on Conan's shield.
Very primal.
Conan's got an axe.
Yeah.
Some of Neal's best pieces to me were like the primal pieces when he did Tarzan or Conan. There's just a
He's got a
energy.
savageness
Yeah.
that he goes to on
Mhm.
them.
And I love the looseness of the pencil.
Well, I think he loves them because they have faces.
Mm-hmm.
So the drama and
Expressions,
storytelling you
yeah.
get in an expression. Those characters aren't, well, I mean, we have Batman in this one, but you know, it's doing the faces and getting that savage, I can taste you.
Well, I truly believe that's why he didn't like drawing Spider-Man as much, because he had the mask. He's actually said that to me.
Right.
You know, you couldn't see any of his
Right. That's
facial
not
features.
Neal's. I mean, a lot of people like drawing those characters because you don't have to draw a human face.
Right.
You know, for people who love doing lines and buildings, Spider-Man is the best thing in the world.
Sure.
You don't have to draw.
No, this is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I love this one.
Yeah.
Wow. It's a stunner. I mean, it really is. Yeah, and I just appreciate the fact that you guys are pulling all these out for us to see as well. I mean, it's really great to see Neal's work, you know, as in person as we can get through a camera. But yeah, this is a fantastic piece. All right, well, we got. I think we only have 5 more to look at.
Yep.
This next one's a color piece. It's lot 31, and it's on the same can-sign paper that the Phoenix was on earlier. It's on 11 by 14, and it's $3,500. And Bane never looked so buff in this one,
Or Harry.
or Harry, or. Now, is this one? Colors on this one?
This
Little
is
bit.
actually Neal.
Yeah.
Even
This
Neal,
is
okay.
another piece that is 100% Neal.
And it's also got paint on it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously with the spatter, but also with the highlighted hairs and the edge lighting.
this is a piece like Neal came in and was like, Bane. And I was like, yes.
So he even did the spatter on it too.
Jason did the background.
Jason did that part. All right.
Right, but Dad did then after Jason did the background, then
Got it.
Oh.
All right. No, it's gorgeous. And this one stood out. I mean, as on the color pieces, I was like, wow, this is really powerful.
You had a character that, I mean, did Dad ever draw Bane? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think he ever did Bane. Maybe on a cover somewhere. But I don't think so.
There might have been one book that had like a bunch of villains in it.
Maybe.
No, Bane was in Batman Odyssey, wasn't he? In like a panel.
Oh, I'm talking about the old stuff,
Oh,
the
okay.
real stuff,
Gotcha.
not that Batman Odyssey thing.
Well, this one's let me switch back over to the live feed here so we can see it. Wow. And this one's got Jason's backgrounds on it with the splatter effect. Very cool.
And then that white paint along the edge lighting is all Neal.
And the glowing body hair.
The body hair is Neal.
Yeah.
Jason said Bane is in Odyssey.
I know that. I was talking about the older stuff, guys.
She's talking old school.
Old school stuff.
The
I don't think
older stuff.
the Bane. I mean,
Uh,
Odyssey, Neal was in control of and put everything into Odyssey. But pre-Odyssey, I don't think he ever worked with Bane.
Well, this is a good one. It's $3,500, lot 31. So we got 4 more to look at. And lot 32 is the priciest piece of the bunch. Let me highlight that one and show it off. This was the cover to Green Lantern 80th annual issue, and it's on 11 by 17. Price on this one is $75,000, but it is a stunner without question.
And this will go up in value. You know, this is you know, when we, whatever happened with 76 cover, I will say when it originally sold, if it did originally sell, you know, it would have gone for nothing. And then, you know, 30 to 40 years later, we're selling a cover worth a lot of money. To me, this is one of those covers. You know, put this away for 10 or 15 or 20 years and pull it out and see what you get for it.
Very iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dad's artwork is better than the stock exchange. The value always goes up.
Yeah.
Your dad had a lot of stock advice.
Yes, he did.
But yeah, like Nick Ferrucci said, it's a killer cover. And Nick knows a good Green Lantern cover. So yeah, this really is beautiful.
Right. And he got John Stewart in there, which is always important to Neal.
Yeah, Mike D says spectacular. Anatomy, faces, staging, and the handling of it all is amazing. Yep. Now this one doesn't look like it's signed by Neal, or am I missing it in a?
Nope.
No, it is not signed.
Wow.
Usually when people buy pieces, Neal would sign them. Some pieces, you know, we've either had dealers who have dealt some pieces, or Neal just felt like signing a piece. Sometimes he would give us a piece that, like, I signed it already. But the majority of pieces, Neal would, usually people like that as a finishing touch, that I'm there when Neal signs it when I buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of stuff is not signed by Neal because of that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while he would sign it twice because he wouldn't see his first signature. But we just say it's so nice he signed it twice.
I don't think any art collector is going to mind. Yeah, that it is really stunning. There was a question from Robert O'Brien about the Donald Duck. Is the Donald Duck behind you available?
Yes, the Donald Duck behind Zia is available. I think the price, I put the prices on the back.
Yeah, this is 800.
So 800 for Donald Duck. This is a drawing by Neal. And Neal does the best Donald Duck.
He does a really good Donald Duck, doesn't he? Look at that.
They're picking all our favorite pieces.
I know. Don't buy my Donald Duck. It's fine.
So yeah, so are all the pieces on the back wall originals, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and don't buy my Captain America. It's mine.
I mean, I guess I should have thought to ask about that earlier. But so yeah, if anybody had any questions about the pieces on the back wall, we can certainly tell you what the prices are on there. I see Green Arrow, a Swamp Thing. There is a Captain America. I'm sorry, there's a Thor, Hulk, Batman,
Joker, Havoc,
Havoc.
Zia's Betty Boop. Yeah.
my Betty Boop.
That's
We
a
also have
Zia
some trading card size sketch cards.
Right. And then this Joker and Flash and that Batman on the end those are sketch covers, so those are original drawings on a sketch cover.
Got it.
If anyone wants to see a close up, just let me know. We'll take it close
Yeah, we'll
to the
take it
camera
down. Sure.
because I can't
Right, we can
zoom
take
in
them.
with the camera.
We can take them down. No problem.
Nick Ferrucci, any Popeye art?
No.
No.
No Popeye art. Mr. Easy Go Lucky was curious about the price for the Mickey.
Mickey
was probably
I
the
think
same
he's
price,
the same.
800.
Yeah, he's the same price.
Yeah, that is really nice.
Neil loved drawing those big feet characters.
He did. He didn't get to do them very often.
But he does them well.
Yes.
And all right, so yeah, let's get on to the next one. We got two more pieces to look at, right? Or no, three.
Three.
I'm sorry. This is lot 33. This is a Wonder Woman Conan 5 cover. It's on 11 by 17, and the price on this one is $18,000. And just like Batman and Conan, we now have Wonder Woman and Conan on this one. Lots of great action on this. The inking is fantastic.
Yeah, this is a heavily worked piece. You have all those lizardy things down below that they're piled on top of or into and killing. It's a gorgeous Wonder Woman on this piece.
Yep, and it's hard to draw a battle frenzied woman and still make her pretty. But he did it.
Yeah, and the coloring on the cover is actually pretty well done to kind of focus your eye in on Conan and Wonder Woman. So it's all around, I mean, really, really well done from start to finish. But those inks are just gorgeous. Wow. And let me actually go back over to the camera here for us. Wow, there you go. That's in your face right there.
But I mean, looking at Dad's inks, you can see what I said about his lighting. You could always tell where his lighting was coming from.
Mm-hmm. Kelly Rusk says they own the prelim for this, and it's very close to the finished cover. I'm sure, and sure it is. But yeah, the detail on that thing is amazing.
Our followers really do love bragging about their covers.
well, they should, right? I mean, yeah, that's stunning, absolutely stunning.
They've actually developed their own like Neal Adams art bingo. It's like you start off with a head sketch and then you work your way up to a cover.
Someone asked about the price on the Batman next to Mickey.
It's
Yep.
800 as well.
Gosh. So that
It's
one is
800. We refer to this as Batman Gothos.
And someone was asking about the detective comic on the wall.
yeah. Rich, you're doing all my work for me.
Yeah. Go to the bathroom, Bill. Take a break.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
All right, man. Checks in the mail.
So this is a 9.4 yellow label detective comic number 1027. And Neal has done original art on this sketch cover, and it goes for $6,000.
Right. So it's pencil, ink, marker, and paint.
Dang.
Yeah, all that white is paint.
And it's a yellow label.
That's right. Signature series.
9.4.
And you said it was 6,000?
Yeah.
6,000.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I think that was the only questions that we had while we were showing that one.
Let's get to the Wolverine cover.
All right. Yes. This is lot 34.
From the First
X-Men.
X-Men, issue number 2.
First X-Men issue 2 cover. It's on 11 by 17. And it is priced at $25,000.
which is a steal deal in Chris's mind.
Published cover, signed by Neal.
This is a gorgeous cover. It's a Wolverine. Neal never draws him.
And Magneto.
Sabretooth is on there.
I love this cover.
Yeah, and you actually sent me
This
a
is
color of that one. I forgot to include it on the slide. I'm sorry.
Well, look at all that power in Wolverine.
and this is before the adamantium. So those are the bone claws.
Yeah, that was the only thing I was upset about. Finally got us that we could do an X-Men featuring Wolverine, and then they give me the goddamn bone claws, and I was like, God damn it! I want metal claws. I don't want. So this has
Win Mortimer with the goddamn.
This is what that last photo of Neal doing the angry face to camera with his fists up. That was the series.
Wow. So you got Magneto throwing a car at him.
Yep.
That is great.
So let me tell you, it's not
Sabretooth.
easy to find reference of the undercarriage of a car.
Mm-hmm.
Be my guest and try and find it.
Yeah.
Took us days.
Without actually having to go to a garage and.
I was gonna say, yeah, you had to have somebody put it up on a lift.
Right.
And I highlighted it, but I'll say it now that Josh Flanders did pick up the Batman for $800 on the back wall.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Josh, for that. And let me see here. I can throw this in here. That was the color version of that I forgot to add into the slide. So thank you for including that, Rich. And I just screwed it up by not making it a part of it. But
No problem.
But that was the published version of that cover.
So that was Josh Flanders.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. Just one last look at that. Yeah. Just this really gorgeous cover. So, I mean, a very nice first X-Men #2 cover, and 11 by 17 is the size. So let me go back to here. All right. So last piece of the night is from Batman Odyssey, issue 2, page 12. And this is lot 35. Price on this one is $15,000.
Rich was trying to magic the page out of my hand.
And we're doing a Bela Lugosi.
Did it work?
Yeah.
Eventually.
So this is pencil and ink Neal. It has his crazy layout page design. It has really nice Batman shots.
Yeah, he's slugging it out there.
Yeah.
Sweaty Batman.
Wow.
Right. Batman Odyssey.
And, fun panel layout as well from
Yep.
Neal here, with those angles there, in that lower, the lower third, I guess. But it's always fun. It's kind of, Neal was always great. Some of my favorite work of his is where he's really playing with panel layouts. And I thought he was a master of that. As far as like creating dynamic panel layouts on his pages. I think back to I'm an X-Men guy, so I think back to his run on X-Men, and he just did some crazy stuff there that shouldn't work, but it worked so well, and it moved your eye around the page. So this is fun.
Definitely.
These are Neal's inks.
Yep, these are Neal's inks.
Yep. Lori Wygant wanted to know on that one. Yeah, it's all Neal. That's what I thought.
Right. And I will say this about Batman Odyssey. When Superman versus Muhammad Ali came out, everybody gave Neal a hard time about it. And then Batman Odyssey came out, and everybody gave Neal a hard time about it. But Neal says this is his first graphic novel. And, I went through the experience of Batman Odyssey with Neal and the editors and battling and referencing and penciling, inkers, coloring, the whole 9 yards. And then read it as a comic book, and I was like, I'm lost. Like, I'm out. Then the graphic novel came out, the book came out, and I went to the beach and I sat and read it as a book.
Mhm.
And I got it, and it was great. And he was leading, and like every time you got a piece of information that you're like, then like the next chapter would be like, oh shit, now I have to like figure this one out. So he was constantly leading you. That to try and do Batman Odyssey as a comic book and waiting a month between issues.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got hit with something. I don't remember what happened that caused the space and time, because that was not caused by us at Continuity or Neal. That was something that was going on at DC that caused it. And I don't even remember what it was at this point. But when you sit and read that as a book, it works.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree, as a comic book, it's like, I don't understand what's going on. I'm lost, and waiting a month and having to keep all that information in your head to get to the next issue did not work for me either. So I would, if you love Neal, he really put his heart and soul into Batman Odyssey. That was his
Magnum
his masterpiece piece. He got to tie up all the loose ends. He got to say everything he wanted to say about Batman in that book. And I agree, it does not work as a comic series, but it does work as a book, as a graphic novel book. So I would get the book and try reading it, or sit with all your issues and read it in one or two gulps, and it'll be smoother to you.
Yeah, you need to take notes.
Yeah, it almost like you do need to take notes. And
okay, this is important. I have to
you
write this
kinda
down
have
so I
to-
can get back to it.
Yeah, he does make you work in it. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like, oh, I'm gonna like sit and relax. You're gonna work with Neal, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what Batman Odyssey is about.
You have to use your brain.
Yeah. So I think it just was different. But that's what Neal always does. Neal does, like, when Neal came into comics, I mean, he got hate mail. It's like, who is this guy? It's like, he's ruining my book, and then we grew to love his art style, and then everybody had to do his art style.
Mm-hmm.
And Batman Odyssey is another experience, guys. Give it a whirl.
Well, hey, before I'm going to recap the pieces that didn't sell just really quickly. But for those of you who did buy artwork tonight, I mean, two things. One, I'm just going to paste back into the chat the link to the Facebook page where we'd like, if you are on Facebook, please send out a communication, a message through that Facebook page to them, so we can work out the sale details, include your email address and mailing address and whatnot. But at least put the contact out there. And then as far as where we'd like you to send an email, here it is on here. It's madamadams@gmail.com. And when you email that address, please include your name, mailing address, and the item claimed. I mean, we've got a spreadsheet that we're going to provide as well. But of course, just giving us all that information makes it a lot easier when you reach out and contact us after the show. So here, let me just run through the pieces so everybody's familiar. And of course, we know a lot of people watch the shows the next day because they're in Europe or they're just not watching live. Is it Monday Night Football? I don't even know. I'm not a football guy.
I think we're up against the Emmys tonight.
Oh, and so there you go. We had a lot stacked against us. So people maybe watching this, if there's pieces we show here that weren't claimed, feel free to reach out via those two paths as well, whether it's the Facebook page or the email address, and make an inquiry because the piece may still be available when you're watching the show tomorrow or whatnot. But here are the pieces that didn't sell. Lot number one, the Bathing Beauty at $500. We tried doing this at an auction, but essentially it's buy it now at $500 for that one. And similarly, lot number two at $500, the other Bathing Beauty. Now, here was the really great Batman illustration on 11x14. This was lot three. This was priced at $3,500 at auction. So it's a buy it now at this price if anybody would like to pick that up. And let's see, next up was lot four. This was that woman drinking water, two pieces. The first one on the left, the ink piece, is the original. The one on the right is a photocopy that has been colored under Neal's direction. This one's at $500 as well. This is a unused Batman Odyssey page. This is lot 6. Price on this one, $8,000. It's on 11x17. This was a panel recreation from Green Arrow, and it's done on an 8.5 by 11 and $8,000 on lot 7 for that. Then we have the unused Batman versus Ra's al Ghul cover, partially inked, lot 8. This one was at $8,000 as well. Then we've got 3 pages from SpongeBob Annual 4, something you would never expected to see, but here it is. Lots 9A, B, and C. Each page is priced $2,500. Then we've got next is lot 10, the Green Arrow 2 color guide, 100% colored by Neal. Very, it's gorgeous. Priced at $1,000. I mean, that's a very fair price for this 8.5 by 11 piece. Then we've got, next is the Defenders cover prelim, lot 11. This one was priced at $2,000, all pencils on this one. And let's see, next up was the pair of Fanta pages featuring Mickey, Donald, and Goofy. So there were 2 pages in that lot. Lot 12, $3,000 was the price on that. And these were oversized at 13.5 by 19. Lot 13 did sell to Michael Rook. So next up was lot 14. That was the Harley Quinn that also had Jason's colors on the background for this character. So this was lot 14 at $2,300, 8.5 by 11 on that piece. Then lot 15 was the Zatanna, and that one was at $1,700 as well, 8.5 by 11 for that. Lot 16 was the Flash Gordon, 11 by 17, really beautifully finished piece here, all by Neal, and this one was $8,000. We've got the Dark Phoenix on the Canson paper in color, 8.5 by 11, $1,900 on that one. The Dracula was sold at lot 18 to a phone texter. We got lot 19 was the vintage bowling ad from the early 60s. This one was $1,200. Lot 20 was the Ra's al Ghul, $1,800 on this one. And lot 21, the Spider-Man cover prelim was sold. So next up was lot 22. That was the Hulk smashing pencil for $4,000. Then what do we got next? 23 was the Spider-Verse piece at 11 by 17, just absolutely gorgeous, used as a print that Neal had at his booth at many cons. This one's for $8,000. We've got lot 24, the Conan page, all in color with, this was colored by Neal and by Zia, and this one's at $8,000. And let's see, 25 and 26 did sell. So let's take a look at 27 was the Harley Quinn with the Joker face in the background. This one was at $5,000 and it's 11 by 16. Lot 28 was that great Superman ink wash, and it's 8.5 by 11 and it's $6,000. Lot 29 was the Joker Shocking Batman, 8.5 by 11 as well. This one was priced at $4,500. All Neal on that one. And then this was the Conan versus Batman pencil piece. That's it is so stunning. Signed by Neal as well on 11 by 14, priced at $8,000. Again, lot 30 for that one. Then the Bane piece on Canson as well. This is 11 by 14, $3,500 for that one. And the big one of the night was lot 32, the Green Lantern 80th annual cover on 11 by 17, $75,000 for this one. I mean, what more could you ask for, right? In a Green Lantern cover by Neal. And then Wonder Woman and Conan. This is an issue 5 cover on 11 by 17, $18,000 for this one. And the final 2 pieces are the first X-Men #2 cover. This was lot 34 at $25,000. And finally, the Batman Odyssey 2, page 12, lot 35, and it was at $15,000. And I have to cough. Sorry for that. I muted myself. So, are they froze? I think they're froze. How did this happen right at the end of the show? They're both texting too. So I think we're all froze. I even see Rich froze in my little mini cam here. Well, so I guess we're going to be calling this one a wrap, unless they're able to come back and say goodbye as well. I see that. I mean, sometimes that happens on a Wi-Fi-ish connection. Oh, I see Rich is moving again. But what I would tell everybody me pop back in here full screen, is that if you are interested in any of these pieces, as they mentioned earlier, payment, they're totally open to time payments on any of the pieces. That's perfectly acceptable, usually a third or quarter down. So anybody thinking about this, you're more than welcome to email them after the show or contact them through Facebook to let them know, that you're interested. And we are back. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Darn the internet.
Yep.
But yes, I was just letting everybody know that if time payments are more than acceptable, if anybody wants to communicate with you after the show, to shoot you an email or message you through the Facebook page. And,
right. Matter of fact, somebody just did message me already.
Oh,
so they are
good.
listening.
Okay, good. Well, so if anybody's interested, feel free to do that. And otherwise, it was great getting to see all this artwork. And even more importantly, it was great to be able to talk with you both at the beginning of the show about your father and some of your time with him. I mean, hey, Rich, see the man behind the camera. Yes, but no, it was a lot of fun.
What are you doing?
Yep. David says, please let Marilyn know that he says hello.
Yes.
And thank you for buying our artwork.
Marilyn just got a new puppy, so she is home with a new puppy.
Yeah.
Well, that is very, very important. Yeah, you can't leave
Yes.
new puppies at home.
Right. So that's why she's not here tonight. Otherwise, she would be here tonight.
Well, again, this was a lot of fun, and I'm thankful that you took the time. It did go a lot longer than we were talking about before the show. But that's I knew that when we looked at the art there, we were going to be able to talk. There's going to be more stories to tell when we looked at the pieces. Right. And so again, thank you so much for doing it.
We do plan on having more Adams adventures.
All right, good.
So we will keep in touch with everybody about what our plans are, what books we'll be coming out with. Like I said, we are putting together a sketchbook right now, which will be our first piece out for New York Comic Con. That will be available for people to buy.
Yep. And I'm also working on a Neal Adams, Ben Casey inspired painting that I am doing time lapse video as I'm working on it. So every time I work on it, I set up a camera so you'll get to see like the entire process from the beginning to end.
Very, very cool. Are you keeping up with any of the other computer stuff that you used to do? As far as like, any of the design programs? No.
No, but I will say this, if Kris came in one day and said, okay, Zia, we need to do this, I'd be like, all right, give me an hour. I'll figure it out.
You can brush up on a few things.
There's a certain amount of understanding. I am rusty, but it wouldn't take much for me to work it out.
I asked her to turn on her FiberJet today. That took you a while.
I'm a little rusty. But, I kind of went off of the computer stuff. I like the more organic stuff, mainly because I don't want my glasses getting any thicker than they already are.
I
do understand that.
Organic.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely enjoying
I think we
the
did so
painting.
many years of computer that I think you're enjoying the organic.
And I even got to teach my mom how to do computer coloring, so she got to do quite a bit of computer coloring.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
And she learned how to do it.
And she kicked ass too.
Yeah. She was an older lady, and she learned Photoshop in her. Was she in her 60s, early 60s, 60?
Something like that, yeah.
And she picked up Photoshop like that.
Yep.
You don't by chance know your Artist Alley table number for New York, do you?
I think Kris and Marilyn are on F6, I think Marilyn said, and I will be at H13.
Okay.
Lucky 13.
So F6 and H13. There you go, Wayne. Perfect. And Samuel Rojas mentioned that IDW should get on doing a Neal Adams Artist Archive edition at some point. And that makes a lot of sense, actually, Samuel. They should do something for Neal. I agree. Well, again, I'm gonna call it a wrap tonight. But I would, when you're starting any of these projects, if there's anything that I can promote for you, through the live streams or through Comic Art Fans, Rich knows. Hit me up with any press releases or announcements that I can do for you, because I really, anything I can do to help, I'd like to do that. And honestly, if any of those projects that are sitting out there that you end up not wanting to work on that were video related, if there's any way I can help you with stuff like that in the future. I mean, if there's something worth pulling out of the archives to, you know, to get out there and you don't have the time to do it yourself, I mean, if it was something that I could tackle, I'd be more than, you know, willing to be somebody who could assist with that. I mean, I enjoy doing video editing, believe it or not.
Well, we'll keep that in our heads.
Yeah, keep it, please do. I mean, I'd love to help, but I've got the channel, you know, and as do you, you know, we can put it out there if it was something. So,
all right, well, we'll come up with something.
All right,
We'll
fantastic.
We'll put you to work. We have no problem doing that.
Yeah. You went and volunteered.
Right.
Yeah, maybe I should have done that. All right. Yeah, there's a little bit of Neal in both of you, right?
Yes.
As far as oh boy. All right. Well, listen, it's been a lot of fun, and thank you so much to everybody as well for tuning in and staying with us for this long. We still have almost 80 people watching, so thank you to all of you for being a part of this as well. Have a wonderful night, and we'll